My brother advised me to install a wiretap in the apartment my husband and I shared before I left for a business trip to another city. I decided to do as he suggested. And when I left, 2 days later I decided to turn on the recording. But what I heard made me freeze in horror. I never thought my life would change so drastically. Just a month ago, I had been an absolutely happy woman. I had everything one could dream of. A loving husband, a good job, a cozy apartment in the city center. Charlie and I had lived together for almost 7 years. We had met back in university, in our 4th year. He studied economics, I was in the Department of Foreign Languages. We met at a student party and from then on never separated. Charlie had always been attentive, caring, romantic. He brought me flowers for no reason, planned surprises, remembered all the important dates. We got married 3 years after we met, and for another 4 years we lived in perfect harmony. Of course, like in any family, there were minor disagreements, but nothing ever serious. Charlie worked as a financial analyst in a large company. I taught French and German at a language school. We had enough money for everything we needed and even a bit more. We traveled abroad on vacations, furnished our apartment, made plans for the future. Everything was good. Until that very day, at the language school where I worked, I was offered to go to Seattle for a month. A new branch of our school was opening, and they needed an experienced teacher who could help set up the work and train new employees. It was an excellent opportunity for career growth, and they promised a higher salary. I agreed without hesitation, and Charlie took the news calmly. He said of course he would miss me, but he understood how important this was for me. He promised to call every day, to take care of the apartment. Everything seemed fine. A week before leaving, I went to visit my parents. They lived in the suburbs, in a small cozy house. I couldn't visit them often because of work, but before a long business trip, I decided to see them. My brother Ross also came to our parents' house that day. He is 4 years older than me, and he has always been a caring and attentive brother. He works as a programmer in an IT company and lives alone. He and Charlie had a decent relationship, though they never became close friends. We were sitting on the veranda, drinking tea. Our parents went to the store, and Ross and I stayed alone. I was telling him about the upcoming trip, about my plans, about how much I missed Seattle, where we had once gone on a school excursion. Suddenly Ross interrupted me. "Jody, are you sure everything is fine between you and Charlie?" The question caught me off guard. Of course everything is fine. Why would you think otherwise? I just have a strange feeling. I can't explain it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that Charlie has been acting a bit differently lately. I was surprised. Ross didn't see Charlie that often. Where did he get such an idea? What do you mean? Everything is normal with us. No problems at all. Ross shrugged. Maybe so. But you know, if I were you, I'd take some precautions. What do you suggest? Install a wiretap in the apartment. Before you leave. I laughed. I thought my brother was joking. But he was looking at me seriously. Are you out of your mind? Why? I trust my husband. Listen, Jody. I'm not saying Charlie is hiding something. But a month is a long time. It's better to be cautious. I'll give you a good device, compact, unnoticeable. You can place it somewhere in the living room. You'll be able to listen to the recordings remotely. If everything's fine, you'll take it out later and forget about it. But if something isn't right, admit it, it's better to know the truth. I kept refusing. The thought of spying on my own husband seemed absurd. But Ross was persistent. And eventually, I agreed. I thought that if everything was fine, no one would ever know, and I'd have peace of mind. The next day Ross brought me a small device, the size of a flash drive. He explained how to activate it, how to connect to it remotely through a special app on my phone. He said the battery would last for a month and that the recording would activate only when there were sounds in the room. I hid the device in my bag and went home, feeling like a spy in a detective story. Charlie was still at work. I took the chance and installed the wiretap in the living room, hiding it behind some books on the shelf. When Charlie came home, I felt a sharp pang of shame. How could I give in to my brother's persuasion? How could I doubt the man I had lived with for so many years? I wanted to take the device out immediately and throw it away. But something stopped me. Maybe curiosity? Or maybe deep inside I had doubts I hadn't even admitted to myself. The following days were filled with pre-departure hassle. I had to prepare lesson materials, pack my things, deal with 1,000 organizational matters. I hardly paid attention to the wiretap. I turned it on in test mode only once, when Charlie and I were having dinner. The recording was clear, the words distinct. Then I turned off the app and forgot about it. The day of departure came quickly. Charlie drove me to the airport, kissed me goodbye. He promised to call every day, said he would miss me. Everything as usual, nothing suspicious. The first 2 days in Seattle went by in a whirlwind. A new team, new tasks, a new city. I came back to the rented apartment late in the evening, exhausted. Charlie called every day, told me about his work, asked how I was settling in. The ordinary conversations of a loving couple. On the third day, I came home earlier than usual. I made some tea, settled on the couch with my laptop. I had a lot of work. I needed to prepare materials for the next day's classes. And then I remembered the wiretap. I don't know why, but I decided to check the recordings. I opened the app on my phone, connected to the device. Several hours of recordings had already accumulated. I started listening from the very beginning, from the moment I had left. The first recordings were boring. Charlie came home, turned on the TV, talked on the phone about work. Nothing interesting. I was about to turn it off, but decided to listen a bit more. And then I heard it, the sound of the front door. Footsteps. A woman's voice. So, she's gone? The voice was unfamiliar. Young, with a slight huskiness. Yes, for a month. No need to worry. That was Charlie's reply. Perfect. That means we have plenty of time. The sound of a kiss. Laughter. My heart clenched in pain. The first thought, betrayal. Plain and simple betrayal. My husband had brought his lover into our apartment the moment I left. So predictable, so humiliating. But the next words made me freeze. Are you sure she suspects nothing? Absolutely. Jody trusts me completely. She thinks I work as a financial analyst, buried in reports. She has no idea what I actually do. And if she finds out, she won't. And even if she does, it will be too late. By then everything will be done, and we'll already be far away. What? What will be done? Where are they planning to go? Are you sure this will work? There's so much money at stake. Everything's been calculated. The scheme has been perfected over the years. No traces, no evidence. Clean work. And your boss? Won't he suspect? Jack won't suspect a thing. He trusts me completely. He has no idea that I've been leaking information to competitors for years. By the time he realizes what happened, his business will be ruined. My mind refused to process what I was hearing. Charlie. My Charlie, the calm, decent, honest man, talking about some crime? And what about your wife? She's not a problem? A pause. I held my breath. Jody? No, not a problem. She knows nothing. And she won't find out. And when everything happens, it won't matter anymore. You say that like you're planning to get rid of her. Laughter. Cold, unfamiliar laughter. There are different ways to get rid of someone. It doesn't have to mean physically eliminating them. You can just disappear. New documents, a new country, a new life. For us. She'll stay here, left to deal with the consequences. If she's lucky, she'll get away with interrogations. If not, she might even end up in prison as an accomplice. Either way, I don't care. I listened, and it felt like a dream, a nightmare. My husband, the man I had lived with for 7 years, couldn't be saying such things. When do we start? In 2 weeks. On the 14th, Jack will sign the documents, transfer the money. We need to finish everything before the 15th and disappear. I've already booked the tickets. And your friend? The one who's helping with the documents, can he be trusted? Hugh? Yes, he's reliable. He's been working with these things for years. No problems. I kept listening, and every word was like a slap in the face. They were discussing details of some scheme with stocks, with transferring money through shell companies. They talked about sums with 6 zeros. They were planning an escape to some country. And all this was coming from my husband, the man I thought I knew better than anyone in the world. The recording went on. They moved to the bedroom. Our bedroom. The bed creaked, the woman moaned. I turned off the app. That was too much. Infidelity after 7 years of marriage, it was painful. But what I had learned before that was far more terrifying. My husband was a criminal. He had been deceiving his boss for years, leaking information to competitors. He was planning some major fraud. I sat motionless, unable to believe it. Maybe it was some mistake? A prank? Maybe Charlie was shooting a film, rehearsing a role? No. It was real. It was my husband, and yet at the same time a man completely unfamiliar to me. My first thought was to call him. To scream, to demand explanations. But I held back. If he found out that I knew everything, then what? What would he do? Speed up his plans? Come up with something even more dangerous? Or maybe even. No, I couldn't allow myself to think that. Charlie wasn't capable of physical violence. At least, not the Charlie I knew. But now I realized I hadn't known him at all. I decided to call my brother. Ross had always been able to keep calm in critical situations. And besides, it was he who had insisted on installing the wiretap. As if he had sensed something. I dialed his number. The ringing tone. Long, endless ringing. Ross didn't answer. Maybe he was busy at work. I sent him a message. Call me back urgently. It's very important. While I waited for a reply, I tried to collect my thoughts. What should I do next? Go to the police? But I had no proof except for an illegally made recording. And besides, I didn't even know exactly what crime Charlie was planning. Talk to his boss, this Jack? But I didn't even know who he was. Charlie had never told me details about his work. The phone vibrated. Ross. Jody, what happened? Are you okay? Ross, I need to talk to you. Can you right now? Of course. I'm at work, but I can step out. Is it something serious? Very. It's about Charlie. I heard something on the recording. Something terrible. A pause. What exactly did you hear? I briefly retold the contents of the recording. Ross was silent. Then he let out a heavy sigh. Damn it. I suspected something was wrong with him, but I didn't think it was this serious. Jody, listen to me carefully. Don't call Charlie. Don't show that you know anything. Act normal if he calls. I'm flying to Seattle immediately. Why? Ross, what's going on? Not over the phone. I'll explain everything when I get there. Wait for me, don't go anywhere. And for God's sake, be careful. He hung up. I was left sitting with the phone in my hand, more confused than ever. What does Ross know? What is going on? Fragments of thoughts and memories spun in my head. Charlie, his job, his frequent business trips, the late-night phone calls he explained as urgent matters. The sudden money that appeared as bonuses. The new car last year, the expensive watch, the jewelry he gave me for my birthday. Everything had always seemed logical, explainable. A successful career, a good salary. I had never doubted it. But should I have? Were there signs I had missed? Could I have prevented what was happening now? The phone vibrated again. This time it was Charlie. I froze. What should I say to him? How should I behave? A deep breath. Calm. I had to act normal, as if nothing had happened. Otherwise he would suspect something. Hello? Hi, sweetheart. How are you? How's Seattle? His voice sounded the same as always. Warm, attentive. No sign of tension or falseness. A professional actor. Everything's fine. Lots of work. I'm tired. And you? What's new? Oh, nothing special. Work, home, TV. I miss you. He misses me. Of course. So much that he brought another woman into our bed. I miss you too. Listen, sorry, I have to run. A meeting in 5 minutes. I'll call tonight, okay? Of course, go. Love you. Love you too. I hung up. My hands were trembling. I had just lied to the man I had never lied to before. I said I loved him, when inside there was only pain and fear. How easy it turned out to be to pretend. Maybe for him it had been easy too. 7 years pretending to be a loving husband. I turned the wiretap app on again. There were more recordings, more recent ones. I didn't want to listen, but I had to know everything. A new recording. Again a woman's voice, but this time different. Lower, more confident. Charlie, do you realize what you're getting into? This isn't just leaking information anymore. This is outright embezzlement on a massive scale. Sybil, I've calculated everything. No traces, no evidence. The money will go through 3 offshore accounts, then through Bitcoin. Impossible to track. And your wife, she won't suspect anything? My wife is in Seattle right now. For a month. By the time she comes back, it will all be over. And I'll be long gone. You're going to leave her? After all these years. What choice do I have? Take her with me? She wouldn't agree. Jody is law-abiding, proper. She would never go along with this. Besides, Ruby is against it. She says a wife is dead weight. And I agree with her. Ruby. Was that the name of his lover? The one with the husky voice? Charlie, think again. Jack isn't the kind of man you can play games with. If he finds out about your betrayal, he won't stop at a lawsuit. You know his methods. He won't find out. I've thought of everything. By the time anything becomes clear, I'll be in another country, with a new name, a new appearance. No law will reach me where I'll be. And what if your partner, that IT guy, slips up? Hugh? No, he's reliable. Besides, his share is too big for him to take risks. Be careful, Charlie. I warned you. This is your choice, your risk. But if something goes wrong, I won't be able to protect you. Everything will be fine, Sybil. You know me. I never take on a job unless I'm sure of success. The conversation ended. I sat there, trying to make sense of what I had just heard. So, Charlie was planning to steal money from his boss, some man named Jack. A huge sum. He had a partner named Hugh, who was helping with the technical side. He had a lover, Ruby, with whom he was planning to run away. And there was this Sybil, who knew about the plans but apparently wasn't directly involved. Who was she? A colleague? A supervisor? A lawyer? And what was I supposed to do with all of this? Ross had promised to fly in today. Maybe he would advise me. But there were still several hours before his arrival. And I couldn't just sit and wait, doing nothing. I decided to listen to more recordings. Maybe there would be something that would help me understand the situation better. A new recording. Charlie talking on the phone. Yes, everything is going according to plan. The documents will be ready in a week. Yes, of course, I understand the risks. No, my wife doesn't know anything, she's in Seattle. No, she won't come back earlier. That's out of the question. A pause. Yes, Ruby, I remember. Everything will be as we agreed. The money, the new passports, the tickets. Everything is ready. We just have to wait until the 14th, when Jack signs the documents. Another pause. No, he won't suspect a thing. Why would he? I've worked with him for 5 years, he trusts me completely. He has no idea that I've been leaking information to competitors for years. Another pause. Don't worry, darling. In 2 weeks it will all be over. We'll be rich and free. We'll start a new life. Together. I turned off the recording. Nausea rose in my throat. Every word from Charlie was like a knife to my heart. He wasn't only betraying his boss. He was betraying me. Our love. And what was I supposed to do now? How should I act? The doorbell interrupted my thoughts. I flinched. Who could it be? Ross shouldn't have arrived yet. I went to the door and looked through the peephole. A stranger. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark jacket. Who is it? I asked without opening the door. Jody Cooper? Yes. A package for you. Please sign. A package? For me? But I didn't know anyone in Seattle. No one could have sent me anything. Besides, only my colleagues from work knew my address. From whom is the package? From Ross Cooper. Your brother. Ross? But he said he would come himself. Why would he send something? Show me your courier ID, please. The man hesitated, then pressed some card against the peephole. It looked official enough. A courier service logo, a photo, a name. David Peterson. I still hesitated. Something felt wrong. Leave the package at the door. I'll pick it up later. I can't. I need your signature. Instructions. He spoke calmly, but something in his voice set off alarm bells. There was an unnaturalness, a tension. Then wait, I'll call my brother now to confirm. I stepped away from the door, pulled out my phone, dialed Ross's number. No answer. I sent a message. Strange. Ross usually replied quickly. The doorbell rang again. Insistent, long. Jody Cooper, I need to get to other addresses. Please open up. This will only take a minute. I stayed silent. Fear froze my movements. Something inside warned me, don't open. Jody. Open up. His voice had changed. Harder now, more demanding. I quietly backed away from the door, clutching my phone. Who could I call? The police? And what would I say? A courier came to my door and I'm scared? The bell rang again. This time continuously, as if someone was holding their finger on the button. And then I heard it. The sound of a key in the lock. Someone was trying to open my door from the outside. Panic surged through me. I rushed to the door and threw on the chain lock. Just in time. The door opened a few centimeters, but the chain kept it from opening fully. Jody, open the door. Don't make this harder. Leave or I'll call the police. I shouted. I wouldn't advise that. It'll create problems not only for me, but for your husband. And for you, too. What? What does Charlie have to do with this? Who are you? What do you want? Jack Shepard sent me. He wants to talk to you. It's in your best interest, believe me. Jack? Charlie's boss, the one he was planning to betray? How did he know where I was? And why did he want me? I'm not going anywhere with a stranger. Tell Jack that if he wants to talk, he can call me. This isn't a phone conversation. Too delicate. It concerns your husband and his activities. I stayed silent. What should I do? Go? But it could be dangerous. Don't go? Then I'd never find out what was happening. I'll give you 5 minutes to think. After that, I break down the door. Trust me, I know how. My mind raced feverishly. 5 minutes. What could I do in 5 minutes? Call the police? They wouldn't get here in time. Ross? He wasn't answering. Escape through the window? I was on the 5th floor. The solution came suddenly. My apartment windows looked out into the courtyard of a typical apartment block. Across from me, other windows. If I screamed, called for help, maybe someone would hear. I ran to the window, opened it. Help! Someone's attacking me. Call the police. No response. The windows across were shut, curtains drawn. Workday, everyone at work. I shouted again. Silence. It's useless, Jody. No one will come to help. 3 minutes left. What to do? What to do? The phone vibrated. A message from Ross. Jody, don't open to anyone. I'm already at the airport. I'll be there soon. Wait for me. Too late. The courier was already here, threatening to break down the door. I had less than 3 minutes. I decided to buy time. Fine, I'll go with you. But I need to get ready. 5 minutes. 2 minutes. Or I break the door. Fine, 2. I rushed to the bedroom. Grabbed a bag, shoved in my passport, wallet, phone. Threw on a jacket. 2 minutes are up. Time's over, Jody. Are you coming? Yes, I'm coming. I went to the door, took off the chain lock. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. I opened the door. The man looked exactly as I had imagined through the peephole. Tall, solidly built, with cold gray eyes. No courier uniform, just a black jacket and jeans. Let's go. The car is waiting. Where are we going? You'll find out when we get there. He stepped aside to let me go first, and we left the apartment. I looked around for neighbors, for anyone else. No one. The stairwell was empty. We went down in the elevator, stepped out of the building. At the curb stood a black SUV with tinted windows. The man opened the back door, motioned for me to get in. I hesitated. Getting into a stranger's car with a stranger was the last thing you're supposed to do in situations like this. Don't be afraid, Jody. If Jack wanted to harm you, he wouldn't invite you for a conversation. Logical, but not very comforting. I got into the car. The man sat next to me. Another man I hadn't seen before was behind the wheel. Drive, my escort ordered. The car pulled away. I looked out the window, trying to memorize the route. We drove onto one of the main streets, then turned somewhere. I didn't know the city well, couldn't pinpoint where we were going. Is it far? I asked, trying to ease the tension. About 20 minutes. The man wasn't in the mood for conversation. Meanwhile, I tried sending Ross a message. They took me, Jack's people. They say he wants to talk. Black SUV, maybe a Mercedes. Didn't see the plates. It didn't go through. No signal. Strange. I'd had one just a moment ago. Phones don't work inside, the man noted, catching my glance. Special equipment. Security measures. So I couldn't reach Ross. I was alone, cut off, in a car with strangers, going who knows where. 20 minutes later, just as the man had promised, the car stopped. I looked out the window. We were near a large mansion behind a tall fence. Guards, cameras. A serious place. We're here. Get out. I stepped out of the car. The man led me to the gate, where a guard met us. He checked some list, nodded, let us through. We walked along a well-kept path toward the house. Large, 3 stories, with columns. more like the residence of a millionaire than an office. Inside, it was even more impressive. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, antique furniture. My escort led me through a spacious hall to the staircase, then up to the second floor, down a long corridor to a massive door. He knocked, waited for a response, opened the door, and let me in. "Jody has arrived," he reported to someone inside the room. "Thank you, Hugh. You may go." Hugh? Charlie's accomplice? But how? He was supposed to be on my husband's side, helping him deceive Jack. Why had he brought me here? I entered the room. It was an office. Large, spacious, with floor-to-ceiling windows. Behind a massive desk sat a man in his 50s. Dark-skinned, with graying temples, wearing an expensive suit. His face seemed familiar. Where could I have seen him before? "Come in, Jody. Have a seat. Tea, coffee?" His voice was calm, even friendly. But his eyes, there was steel in them. "No, thank you." "What do you want? Why did you bring me here?" My voice betrayed me, trembling. "To talk. About your husband. About his activities. I don't know anything about my husband's work. He's a financial analyst, that's all I know." The man smirked. "Do you really believe that? Well then, I have news for you. Sit down, this will be a long conversation." I sat in the chair opposite the desk. Where else could I go? I had no choice but to listen. "Allow me to introduce myself. Jack Shepard. I run the investment company Shepard Capital. Perhaps you've heard of us? Shepard Capital?" The name was familiar. I thought I'd seen ads in the city. Something about investments. A solid firm, by all appearances. "Yes, I've heard of it. Your husband, Charlie, has worked for me for 5 years. He started as an ordinary analyst, now he's deputy director of finance. A capable employee, advancing quickly. I trust him. Or rather, I did." A pause. He watched me closely, as if assessing my reaction. 2 weeks ago I learned that Charlie was planning to betray me. To steal a large sum of money and disappear abroad. I have proof. Recordings of conversations, correspondence, documents. All of it I could hand over to the police at any moment. I stayed silent. What was there to say? I knew he was telling the truth. I had heard Charlie's own confession on the recording, but I'm not rushing to the police. For several reasons. First, the scandal, the reputational losses for the company. Second, the money. If Charlie ends up in prison, recovering it will be problematic. Third, I feel a certain sympathy for your husband. He is talented, intelligent. A pity to lose such an employee. He paused, took a sip of water from his glass. And there is a fourth reason. You. Me? What do I have to do with this? Charlie claims you know nothing about his plans. That he intends to abandon you, leave you to deal with the consequences. You might even be accused of complicity. I find that unfair. What do you want from me? Help. I want to stop Charlie before he does something irreparable. And you can help me with that. How? Very simply. You will return to Chicago. Tell your husband you've been urgently recalled from your business trip. Make up any reason you like. Charlie will be unpleasantly surprised, but he won't show it. He doesn't want to arouse suspicion. And then you will behave as usual. A loving wife, unsuspecting of anything. But at the same time, you will be our eyes and ears in your apartment. You want me to spy on my own husband? Exactly. It's in your interest, believe me. If Charlie carries out his plan, you will be left alone, without money, possibly facing criminal charges. If we stop him, he'll have a chance to avoid prison. I'm prepared to give him that chance. For your sake. I stayed silent, weighing what I had heard. The proposal sounded logical. But there was something wrong with it, something false. Why was Jack so concerned about my interests? Why was he ready to forgive Charlie? It didn't fit with the image of a hard-nosed businessman. And if I refuse, then you'll remain here as my guest until the situation is resolved. Charlie will carry out his plan, be arrested, and end up in prison. You'll become the wife of a convict. Not the best prospect, wouldn't you agree? That was a direct threat. He was offering me a choice without a choice. You have no right to keep me here. This is kidnapping. Not kidnapping, protection. I'm looking after your safety. You don't want to be caught up in your husband's crime, do you? Neither do I. That's why I propose you stay here, under my protection, until everything is resolved. I need to think. Of course. You have until evening. Hugh will take you to your room. It has everything you need. If you require anything, tell him. He pressed a button on his desk. A minute later, the same man who had brought me here entered the office. Hugh. Charlie's accomplice? Or Jack's man? Or a double agent? Take Jody to the guest room in the East Wing. Provide everything she needs. Yes, Mr. Shepard. I stood and followed Hugh. We went down the corridor, down another staircase, through another hall. The house was enormous, a real labyrinth. At last we stopped in front of one of the doors. Hugh opened it. Your room. The bathroom is there, the dressing room next to it. If you need anything, press the button by the bed. Can I call my brother? He'll be worried. Phones don't work here. Signal blocker. Security measures. And a computer? Internet? No. Nothing that could be used for outside communication. When can I leave here? That's up to Mr. Shepard. Rest. Dinner will be brought at 7. He left, closed the door. I heard the click of the lock. Locked in. I looked around. The room was spacious, well furnished. A large bed, a wardrobe, a desk, an armchair. Everything expensive, high quality. A golden cage. Did Jack really want to help me? Or did he have his own plans? And who was Hugh? Working for both sides? Pretending to help Charlie while actually loyal to Jack? And where was Ross now? He was supposed to have arrived, but hadn't. Did he know where I was? Could he find me? And what did he really know about this whole story? Too many questions, too few answers. I lay down on the bed, closed my eyes. I needed to calm down, to think. If I agreed to Jack's proposal, I would return home to Charlie. Pretend I knew nothing, while secretly spying on him. Report to Jack about his plans and actions. That would be betrayal. But hadn't Charlie betrayed me first? If I refused, I would stay here, in this house, locked up. For how long? And what about my job, my life? What would happen to Charlie? He would be arrested, sent to prison. Despite everything he had done, I wasn't sure I wanted such a fate for the man I had once loved. The man I might still love, despite it all. Was there a third option? Escape? But how? The window was barred, the door locked, the phone useless. I was in someone else's house, in someone else's city, with no support. My thoughts tangled, my head ached. Too many events, too many shocks in one day. I didn't even notice how I fell asleep. I woke to a knock at the door. Yes? I answered, sitting up on the bed. The door opened. A middle-aged woman in a strict suit entered. Jody, Mr. Shepard invites you to dinner. Please follow me. I looked at the clock. 7 in the evening. I had slept for several hours. Can I refuse? Of course. Then dinner will be brought here. But Mr. Shepard would prefer to see you at the table. He wants to continue the conversation. I decided to go. Maybe over dinner I could learn something new, something that would help me make a decision. All right, I'll go. May I freshen up first? Of course. The bathroom is there. Everything you need is inside. I'll wait outside the door. The woman left. I went into the bathroom, washed my face, fixed my hair. I wanted to shower, to change clothes, but there was no time and no spare clothing. When I stepped out of the room, the woman was waiting in the corridor. Without a word, she led me deeper into the house. We went down the staircase, through the hall, and entered a large dining room. A long table, crystal chandeliers, silver cutlery. Jack was already seated at the table. He stood when I entered. "Jody, I'm glad you joined me. Please, sit down." He gestured to a chair beside him. I sat. 2 waiters served us. It was like a real restaurant inside a private house. "Wine? White, red?" "No, thank you." "Water, if possible." He nodded to the waiter, who poured me a glass of water. "So, Jody, have you thought over my proposal? I need more information. What exactly is Charlie planning? How is he going to deceive you? And why do you think I can help you?" Jack took a sip of wine, looked at me thoughtfully. "Fair questions." "Very well, I'll answer. Charlie is planning embezzlement on a massive scale. We're talking about $50 million. Investors' money entrusted to our company. The scheme is complex. In short, in the coming days he will gain access to these funds and attempt to transfer them through a series of shell companies into offshore accounts. From there, the money will go through cryptocurrencies, becoming untraceable. And Charlie himself plans to disappear. New documents, a new identity, a new country. How do you know this? I have my sources. Let's just say Charlie isn't the only one who knows how to set up a wiretap. I flinched. He knew about the device Ross had given me? And what do I have to do with it? How can I help? You see, Jody, I know Charlie is planning a crime. But I don't know all the details. When exactly he intends to act, where exactly the money will go, with which of my employees he's conspiring. Yes, I suspect Hugh, but are there others? And most importantly, where does he keep the documents, the passwords, the access codes? Without this information, I can't stop him. And you think he'll tell me? In 7 years of marriage, he has never once shared the details of his work. Why would that change now? He won't tell you. But you can hear it. Overhear conversations, find documents. He must keep something at home on his computer, in his phone. Passwords, access codes, addresses. You live with him, you have access to all of this. I shook my head. It all sounded like a spy movie. And if I refuse? What then? Then, as I already said, you'll remain here. Until the situation is resolved. This isn't a threat, Jody. It's concern for your safety. Charlie is intelligent, but cornered, he could be dangerous. Even to you. Why should I trust you? I don't know you. You kidnapped me, keep me locked up. Why should I trust you more than my own husband? You shouldn't. Trust must be earned. But think logically. What do I gain by deceiving you? Nothing. I need your help to stop a crime. And what do you gain by helping me? A chance at a normal life. Besides, your brother recommended that you cooperate with me. I flinched. Ross? You know my brother? Of course. Ross has been working for me for 3 years. He's my chief information security specialist. It was he who informed me about Charlie's plans. And it was he who advised you to install the wiretap in your apartment. I froze. Ross? Working for Jack? All this time? And he was the one who set me up with the wiretap, made me hear Charlie's confession. I don't believe it. Ross couldn't. He's my brother, he wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Protect you? But that's exactly what he's doing. He knew Charlie planned to abandon you, leave you to face the consequences. He wanted you to know the truth. Think about it, wouldn't you rather know who you're really living with? I stayed silent, trying to process what I had just heard. Where's Ross now? Why isn't he here? He's on his way. Delayed in Chicago, some technical issues with the company servers. He should arrive tomorrow morning. I want to speak with him. In person. Before making any decision. Of course. As soon as he arrives, I'll arrange your meeting. I nodded. It was all I could do for now. Wait for Ross. And now, if you don't mind, let's have dinner. The chef worked hard. I wasn't hungry, but I forced myself to eat. I needed to keep my strength. After dinner, I was escorted back to my room. Locked in again. I sat on the bed, trying to gather my thoughts. If Jack was telling the truth, then the situation was even more tangled than I had thought. Ross worked for him. He knew about Charlie's plans. He had arranged everything so that I would learn the truth. And now the two of them wanted me to help stop my husband. But what if Jack was lying? What if he was using my brother's name to manipulate me? What if Ross had nothing to do with any of this and was right now desperately searching for me all over Seattle? I didn't know what to believe. Whom to believe? Too many lies, too much betrayal. There was a knock at the door. I flinched. Yes? The door opened. Hugh, the same man who had brought me here, stepped inside. Jody, a phone call for you. He handed me a phone. Who is it? Your brother. I took the phone, pressed it to my ear. Hello? Jody. It's me, Ross. Are you all right? His voice. Definitely his. But it sounded strange. Tense, frightened. Ross, where are you? What's going on? I'm in Chicago. Got delayed because of work. I'll be in Seattle tomorrow morning. Jody, listen carefully. Do everything Jack says. He's on our side. Ross, you work for him? All this time? Yes. 3 years. I couldn't tell you. Classified. I'm sorry. And you knew about Charlie's plans? That's why you told me to install the wiretap? Yes. I was trying to protect you. Wanted you to know the truth before it was too late. His voice sounded sincere. But something was off. Ross, are you safe? A pause. Too long. Yes, of course. Everything's fine. I'm just worried about you. Do what Jack Shepard says. He knows the right course of action. Something was definitely wrong. Ross never called people by their full names when speaking to me. He never spoke that formally, that rehearsed. Ross, tell me, what was the name of our childhood cat? Another pause. Jody, what kind of question is that? We have bigger problems right now than childhood memories. We never had a cat. I was testing if it was really Ross. And now I had my answer. Yes, you're right. Sorry. I'm just nervous. When exactly will you arrive tomorrow? In the morning. Around 10. I'll come straight to you. I have to go now. Take care of yourself. And remember what I said. Trust Jack Shepard. The line went dead. I handed the phone back to Hugh. Thank you. Hugh nodded, left, closed the door. The click of the lock. I sat on the bed. So, it hadn't been Ross. Or it was Ross, but speaking under duress. Either way, I couldn't trust that conversation. I couldn't trust Jack. Maybe Ross wasn't even here, and wouldn't be. Maybe all of this was lies, manipulation, an attempt to force me to cooperate. But why? What did Jack really want? I lay back on the bed, closed my eyes. I needed to rest, to gather my thoughts. Tomorrow would be an important day. If Ross really came, I would finally be able to speak to him, to understand what was happening. If not, I would have to make a decision on my own. The morning began with a knock at the door. Yes? I answered, sitting up on the bed. The door opened. The same woman who had invited me to dinner yesterday walked in. Good morning, Jody. Breakfast will be served in half an hour in the small dining room. Mr. Shepherd asked me to tell you that your brother will arrive by 11. And in the meantime, here, this is for you. She handed me a package. Inside was clothing. Jeans, a t-shirt, underwear. All new, with tags. And in my size. How? Mr. Shepherd arranged it. He assumed you would want to change. I'll come back for you in half an hour. She left, leaving the door unlocked. That was something new. I wasn't being kept under lock and key anymore? Or was this just a gesture of trust? I decided not to test my luck and not to try to run. Not yet. First, I needed to understand the situation, to figure out what was really happening. I showered, changed into the new clothes. Brushed my teeth with a new toothbrush. Everything was thought through, all my needs provided for. Like in a good hotel. Or in a very comfortable prison. Half an hour later, as promised, the woman returned. Are you ready? Let's go to the dining room. I followed her. We went down the staircase, through the hall, and into a small, cozy room. A breakfast table was set. Jack was already waiting for me. Good morning, Jody. I hope you slept well. Thank you, well enough. Please, sit. I sat at the table. A waiter poured me coffee. The breakfast was plentiful. I wasn't hungry, but I forced myself to eat. I needed strength. Your brother will be here by 11. We have time to talk. About what? About your decision. Will you help us stop Charlie? I'm still not sure I can trust you. That call yesterday, it wasn't Ross. Or if it was, he was speaking under pressure. Jack raised his eyebrows. Interesting statement. Why do you think so? I checked. I asked a question the real Ross would have known the answer to. He couldn't answer. Jack smiled. Smart. Very smart. That's exactly why we need you, Jody. You're observant, you can analyze a situation, you don't fall for manipulation. Even under stress, you keep a clear head. So you admit it wasn't Ross? I admit it. That was one of my employees. I wanted to test you. To see if you could be trusted. You passed the test. And you don't want to trust me? You continue lying, manipulating? It was necessary. I had to be sure. Sure of what? That I would help you catch my own husband? That I wouldn't warn him, wouldn't betray you? Exactly. You love him, despite everything. 7 years of marriage is no joke. Naturally, I had doubts. And now you're telling me the truth? Ross really will arrive at 11? Yes, that's true. He landed early this morning. He's on his way from the airport now. He'll be here around 11. You can check. He handed me the phone. Call him. Right now. Check for yourself. I took the phone, dialed Ross's number. Rings. 1, 2, 3. Hello. His voice. Real, without strain, without falseness. Ross? It's me, Jody. Jody, are you all right? Where are you? In Jack Shepherd's house. Do you know where that is? Yes, of course. I'm already on my way there. I'll be there in about an hour. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. They feed me well, gave me clean clothes. But they're keeping me locked in. That's for your safety. Don't be angry at Mr. Shepherd. He wants to help. You really work for him? 3 years? Yes. Sorry I didn't tell you before. I couldn't. Confidentiality. And you knew about Charlie's plans? That's why you told me to install the wiretap? Yes. I was trying to protect you. Wanted you to know the truth before it was too late. The same words as yesterday on the phone. But now they sounded genuine, natural. Ross, tell me, what was the name of our first teacher? Mrs. Johnson. Jody, what kind of question is that? Are you testing me? The right answer. It really was Ross. Yes, sorry. Yesterday someone called me, claimed to be you. I realized it was a lie. What? Who called? Mr. Shepard, do you know about this? The last question wasn't directed at me. So Jack was listening to our conversation. Speakerphone? Yes, that was my initiative. A test. Jody passed it brilliantly. I'm impressed. Jack's voice, audible through the phone. Yes, speakerphone. Are you insane? Why these games? My sister is already frightened, confused. And you're putting her through tests? Ross was angry. I could hear it in his voice. So he hadn't known about the test. Ross, when will you get here? I asked, trying to ease the tension. In about 40 minutes. Wait for me. And don't agree to anything until I arrive. All right? All right. See you soon. Hang in there. He hung up. I handed the phone back to Jack. Satisfied? I asked as he slipped the phone into his pocket. Yes. That really was Ross. And he really is on his way here. That doesn't mean I trust you. Too many lies, too much manipulation. I understand. But sometimes lies are necessary. Especially when lives are at stake. Lives? You spoke of money, of the company's reputation. What do lives have to do with it? Jack fell silent, as if deciding whether to go on. Jody, you're a smart woman. You must understand this isn't just about corporate fraud. $50 million isn't the kind of sum one can simply steal and walk away. People are killed over that kind of money. And Charlie knows this perfectly well. That's why he's planning his escape so carefully. He knows he'll be hunted. And not only by the police. You're threatening him? Not me. There are investors who entrusted us with their money. For them, 50 million isn't just a number in a bank report. It's their lives, their businesses, their future. If that money disappears, they won't wait for the police to find those responsible. They'll find them themselves. And punish them. In their own way. He spoke calmly, but there was a chill in his words. I was beginning to grasp what kind of mess Charlie had gotten into. And what are you proposing? The same as yesterday. You return to Chicago, to your husband. Tell him your business trip ended early. Behave as usual, like an unsuspecting wife. And at the same time, help us gather information about his plans. And in return? In return, I guarantee safety. For you, for Charlie, for your entire family. I'll make sure the money is returned to the investors, and your husband will face only minimal consequences. He might even avoid prison. Everything can be resolved if handled properly and in time. I studied him, trying to understand if he was telling the truth. Why do you care so much about Charlie? He's planning to betray you, to steal a fortune. Why do you want him to avoid punishment? I've known Charlie for 5 years. I've seen him grow professionally, develop. He's talented, intelligent, ambitious. Too ambitious, as it turned out. But I believe people can change, can recognize their mistakes. Especially if the right person is by their side. Someone like you. I didn't know what to say. His words sounded sincere. I'll think about it. When Ross arrives, we'll discuss everything. Of course. You have until tomorrow. After that, I'll have to act, regardless of your decision. We finished breakfast in silence. Then I was escorted back to my room. This time, the door wasn't locked. I sat on the bed, trying to gather my thoughts. Ross would be here soon. Time dragged on. I paced the room, looked out the window, tried to distract myself. Finally, around 11, there was a knock at the door. Yes? The door opened. Ross stood on the threshold. My brother, my protector, my closest person. I rushed to him, hugged him tightly. Ross! At last. He hugged me back, and for a moment it seemed everything would be all right. That we would manage, that we'd find a way out of this tangled situation. Jody, forgive me. For all of this. I should have told you everything from the start, not played these spy games with the wiretap. But I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. That you'd think I was slandering Charlie out of jealousy or spite. It's all right. I understand. You meant well. We sat down on the bed. Ross looked tired, worn out. Tell me everything, I asked. From the very beginning. How did you get involved in all of this? Ross sighed, ran a hand through his hair. 3 years ago I was offered a job at Shepherd Capital. Good money, interesting tasks. I agreed. Soon I realized this wasn't just an investment company. Or rather, not only that. Jack has many businesses, many interests. Some of them not entirely legal. He's a criminal? Not exactly. Let's just say he's a man who doesn't always play by the rules. But he's not a gangster, not a killer. He's a businessman who sometimes steps outside the law if it serves the business. And you work for a man like that? You were always so principled, so honest. Life is more complicated than it seems, Jody. Not everything is black or white. Jack isn't perfect, but he's fair. He pays well, values professionalism, takes care of his people. And yes, sometimes he breaks the law. But he never harms the innocent. I shook my head. I didn't recognize my brother. All right, that's your choice. But what does this have to do with me? With Charlie? Charlie works for Jack too. 4 or 5 years now. He started as an ordinary analyst, now he's deputy director of finance. Very capable, very ambitious. You knew all this time? You knew where he worked, what he was doing? Yes. Since the moment he joined the company. But I couldn't tell you. Confidentiality. Besides, Charlie himself asked me not to tell you. He said he didn't want to drag you into his business, that he wanted to protect you. Protect me? From what? From the truth. From knowing what he really does. Not just legal investing, if you understand what I mean. And what happened? Why did he decide to betray Jack, to steal the money? I don't know exactly. Maybe he decided he deserved more. Maybe he got tired of always being second, always in someone's shadow. Maybe it was the influence of that woman, Ruby. She's been working on him for a long time, convincing him he was undervalued, that he could have more. You know Ruby? I've seen her a few times. They haven't exactly been hiding lately. They thought no one knew, but in our company it's hard to keep anything secret. How long have they been together? About a year. Maybe a little more. A year. An entire year Charlie had been cheating on me, seeing another woman. And I hadn't noticed a thing. And when did you find out about his plans? About stealing the money, about running away? About a month ago. I accidentally intercepted his correspondence with some specialist in forged documents. I grew suspicious, started watching him. Then I overheard a conversation with Ruby. They were discussing details, sums, deadlines. I reported it to Jack. He decided not to rush with the arrest, to gather more information. To find out who else was involved, where the money was, how they planned to move it. And that's when you decided to involve me. Told me to install the wiretap? Yes. I knew you would be offered the business trip to Seattle. It was the perfect opportunity. You leave, Charlie relaxes, starts talking more freely. We get information. And you learn the truth about your husband, the truth you deserve to know. And now what? Go back to Chicago. Pretend you don't know anything. Gather information about Charlie's plans. Help stop him before he does something irreparable. And in return, safety. For you, for Charlie, for the whole family. Jack will make sure the money goes back to the investors, and Charlie will get the minimum punishment. Maybe even avoid prison altogether. The same words Jack had told me. Word for word. That was unsettling. And if I refuse? Ross sighed. Then Jack will act on his own. He'll arrest Charlie, hand the case over to the police. Charlie will go to prison for a long time. And you think I should agree? Help the man who betrayed me. I think you should do what you believe is right. But remember, Jody, this is still Charlie. The man you loved for 7 years. The father of your future children. Maybe he deserves a second chance. I shook my head. Ross, what's wrong with you? Why are you defending him? After everything he's done? My brother looked away. I'm not defending him. I'm thinking about you. About your future. About how you'll live if Charlie ends up in prison. You know how people treat prisoners' wives. Judgment, contempt, pity. That will follow you for years. But if you help Jack, everything can be resolved quietly, without scandal, without public humiliation. He spoke sincerely. I could see he really was worried about me. But something still felt wrong. I'll think about it, I said finally. I need time. Of course. But don't wait too long. Time is short. Charlie plans to act in a week. I nodded. My brother's strange behavior worried me more and more. He seemed to be repeating Jack's words, as if reciting from a script. Ross, can I trust you? He looked at me with surprise. Of course. I'm your brother. I've always been on your side. And you really work for Jack? Of your own free will? Yes. It's a good job, interesting. And Jack is a good boss, fair. Despite certain aspects of his business. I nodded. All right. I'll think everything over and give you an answer tomorrow. Excellent. And now, maybe we should take a walk? There's a beautiful garden here, fresh air. It will do you good. I agreed. We left the room, went down the stairs, through the hall to the garden exit. The guard at the entrance gave us a careful look, but didn't stop us. Apparently Ross had clearance. The garden was truly beautiful. Neatly kept paths, trimmed bushes, flower beds. We walked slowly, enjoying the fresh air and the relative freedom. How long have you known Jack? I asked. 3 years. Since I joined the company. And you immediately became his trusted man? No, of course not. At first I was just an ordinary employee. Then gradually I earned his trust. Solved difficult tasks, proved my usefulness. Now I run the information security department. An important position. And you're not bothered by the nature of his business? Of course it bothers me. I'm not naive, Jody. I understand not everything Jack does is legal. But in this world it's hard to stay clean and succeed at the same time. Especially in business. Sometimes you have to choose the lesser evil. He's not perfect, but he's honest with his people. I nodded. Ross spoke sincerely, with conviction. But still, something was off. We reached a small pond at the far end of the garden. A beautiful, quiet place. A bench by the water, weeping willows leaning over the surface. We sat on the bench. Ross, tell me the truth. The whole truth. What is really going on? Why does Jack want me to help so badly? My brother stayed silent, staring at the water. Then he sighed. Because it's not only about Charlie. There's someone else. Someone higher, more important. Jack thinks Charlie isn't just working for himself. That behind him stands someone very influential. And he needs proof. The name of that person. So that was it. Finally something that sounded like the truth. And he thinks I'll be able to find out that name? How? Charlie has never told me anything about his work. He hasn't. But maybe there are documents, records in your apartment, something that could lead to this person. Something Charlie keeps at home, believing it's safe there. And if I find this, whatever it is, what then? Then Jack will act. He'll arrest not only Charlie, but also his patron. He'll return the money to the investors. And he'll protect you. And if I refuse? Then what? Ross sighed. Then Jack will act on his own. He'll arrest Charlie, pressure him, trying to get the patron's name. But without your help, the chances are smaller. And Charlie will almost certainly end up in prison. For a long time. This isn't just about Charlie, not just about you. This is about big politics, big money, people's lives. We sat in silence, staring at the water. I'll think about it, I said at last. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. We stood up and slowly walked back to the house. I looked at my brother, trying to figure out if he was telling the truth. Everything he said sounded logical. But something still troubled me. When we returned inside, we found Jack waiting for us. He was standing in the hall, talking on the phone. Seeing us, he ended the call and approached. How was the walk? Did you like the garden? Yes, it's very beautiful, I answered politely. Lunch will be in an hour. Ross, will you stay? No, unfortunately I can't. Business at the office. But I'll be back tomorrow to hear Jody's decision. Jack nodded. Of course. I'll have a car prepared. He stepped aside, leaving us alone. Jody, think carefully, Ross said, lowering his voice. This is important. Not just for you, for all of us. I understand. Don't worry, I'll make the right decision. We embraced before parting. I watched Ross leave, and the strange sense of unease wouldn't let me go. Something was wrong. But what exactly, I couldn't tell. After lunch, I returned to my room. Sat on the bed, trying to gather my thoughts. What should I do? Whom should I believe? How should I act? If I believed Jack and Ross, then Charlie was planning a major theft. Behind him stood some influential patron, and I needed to help uncover who it was. In return, Jack promised me safety and the possibility that Charlie might avoid prison. But what if it was all a lie? What if Jack was manipulating me, using me for his own purposes? And Ross too. What if he wasn't helping Jack of his own will, but under pressure? That would explain his strange behavior, the unnatural sound of his words. Time was passing. Soon I'd have to give an answer. What would I say? Whose side would I choose? There was a knock at the door. I flinched. Yes? The door opened. Hugh entered. Jody, a call for you. He handed me a phone. Who is it? Your husband. I froze. Charlie. How did he know where I was? That I was here? Hello? Jody. It's me. Are you all right? His voice. So familiar, so dear. And at the same time so foreign now, when I knew the truth. Charlie, how did you know where I am? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're alive and well. Jody, listen to me carefully. Don't believe Jack. Don't believe anything he tells you. He's dangerous. He's using you to get to me. And you? Haven't you used me? Lied to me for years? Cheated on me with some Ruby? Planned to abandon me, leave me to deal with the consequences of your crime? So you know. You know everything. Ross told you? Not just Ross. I heard it myself, Charlie. I heard you talking about me, about your plans. About how you didn't care what would happen to me after your escape. Jody, I can explain. It's not what it seems. Yes, I planned certain things. But not for myself. Not for profit. I work for the government, for a special agency. We've been investigating Jack's operations, gathering evidence of his crimes. What you heard was part of the cover story, part of the persona I've been building for years. I couldn't believe my ears. Now he had come up with a new lie. Now he was a secret agent, working for the government? I don't believe you. Not a single word. Jody, I swear to you. It's the truth. I couldn't tell you before, couldn't compromise the operation. But now, when you're in danger, I have to. Jack is a criminal, Jody. He launders money for powerful officials, finances illegal operations. We've been collecting evidence for 5 years. And now we're finally close to the end. His voice sounded sincere, convincing. But I knew all too well how good an actor Charlie could be. And Ruby? Is she also part of your cover? Part of the persona? Ruby is a colleague. We're working together. What you heard was staged. We knew Jack might be listening, so we played our roles. And you went to bed together also as part of the cover? Also for the sake of authenticity? Jody, I know how it looks. But believe me, it's not what it seems. I love you. I've always loved you. Everything I did for our future. For your safety. I don't believe you. Not a single word. I heard how you talked about me. I heard your voice, your tone. That wasn't an act, not a performance. That was the real you. Jody, please. You're in danger. Jack is using you to get to me. Once he gets what he wants, you'll become useless. A witness to be eliminated. And you? You didn't use me? Didn't lie to me for years? Didn't plan to abandon me? No. I swear, no. Everything I did for us. For our future. I was going to tell you everything when the operation was over. Show you documents, proof. Explain. I didn't know what to think. What if he was telling the truth? What if Jack was the criminal and Charlie really was a secret agent? But then how could I explain what I had heard? His words, his plans? And Ruby, finally? What do you want from me, Charlie? Get out of there. Find a way to escape. I'll send people, they'll help you. You just need to get outside the grounds. There will be a car, it'll take you to a safe place. And what if I don't want to? What if I trust Jack more than you? Jody, please. You're in danger. I can't lose you. I can't let anything happen to you. His voice was shaking. I'll think about it, I said at last. Give me time. There's no time, Jody. Jack has already made his decision. As soon as he gets what he wants, you'll become useless. Please, leave that place. Tonight. I'll send people to the northern wall of the garden. There's a small gate, it's rarely guarded. Be there at midnight. I'll think about it, I repeated. I can't promise. Jody, please. I ended the call and handed the phone back to Hugh. Thank you. He nodded and left. I sat on the bed, trying to process what I'd just heard. What if Charlie was telling the truth? What if he really did work for the government, investigating Jack? What if I was in danger here? But then what about everything I had heard? Was it really all just a performance, a show for the bugs? I didn't know what to think. Whom to believe? Jack, who was holding me prisoner but promised safety. Charlie, who had lied to me for years but swore he loved me. Ross, who was behaving strangely but was still my brother. Time passed. Soon dinner, then night. And the decision I had to make. Stay or run? Help Jack or Charlie? Whom should I entrust my fate to? I didn't know the answer. I didn't know what to do. But one thing was clear. I would no longer blindly trust anyone. Not my husband, not my brother, not a strange businessman. I would decide for myself. And I would take responsibility for my own choices. At dinner, Jack was unusually quiet. He studied me closely, as if trying to read my thoughts. "Have you made your decision, Jody?" he finally asked. "Not yet. I need more time. Time is short. Charlie plans to act in a week." "I know. I'll give you my answer tomorrow, as I promised." Jack nodded, didn't press further. We finished dinner in silence. Back in my room, I sat on the bed, trying to decide. What should I do? Whom should I trust? How should I act? I walked to the window and looked out at the garden. It was dark, only the lamps lit the paths. Guards patrolled the grounds. I saw 2 men with flashlights making their rounds. The northern wall. The gate that was rarely guarded. Midnight. People who would help. I stepped away from the window, lay down on the bed, closed my eyes. I had to decide. I had to choose. Life doesn't wait, doesn't give you time to think. Sometimes you have to act, even if you're not 100% sure. The clock showed 10. 2 hours until midnight. 2 hours until the meeting at the gate, if I decided to trust Charlie. And if not? If I decided to stay, to help Jack? What then? Spy on my own husband? Risk my life, my future? For what? For a man who kept me locked up? For a brother who was behaving so strangely? For Charlie, who might deserve a second chance? No. Not for them. For myself. For the truth. For justice. For finally understanding what was happening around me. Who was lying, who was telling the truth? Who was friend, who was foe? The decision came suddenly, like something clicked in my head. I knew what I had to do. And even if it was risky, even if it was dangerous, it was my choice. The clock showed 11:30. Time to act. I got up from the bed, went to the door, and carefully opened it. The corridor was empty. Quietly I stepped out, closed the door behind me. Slowly, trying not to make a sound, I moved down the corridor toward the stairs. The house felt empty, lifeless. Only the ticking of an old clock somewhere deep inside broke the silence. I went downstairs, crossed the hall, and found the door leading to the garden. Locked. Of course, doors are locked at night. But there had to be another way out. A back entrance, a staff exit, something. I looked around. The hall, the living room, the dining room. There had to be a kitchen somewhere. And from the kitchen, surely, a door leading outside for deliveries, for taking out the trash. I found the kitchen. Large, spacious, with modern equipment. And a door. An ordinary door leading outside. I walked to it, tried the handle. Locked. But not with a key, only with a simple bolt. I slid it open, tried the handle again. The door opened. Cool night air rushed inside. I stepped out, carefully closing the door behind me. I was on a small platform at the back entrance. From there, a path led deeper into the garden, skirting the house. I walked along it, trying to move quietly. It was quiet all around, only the rustle of leaves and the light breeze. The path brought me to the main alley of the garden. From here I could see the main buildings of the estate. The house I'd been staying in. Some other structures, maybe garages or staff quarters. And the wall. A tall stone wall enclosing the property. The northern wall. Where was it? I looked around, trying to get my bearings. The house was behind me. So if I was facing it, north should be. To the right? Or to the left? I was never good at directions. Something vibrated in the pocket of my jeans. I jumped at the suddenness of it. Where had a phone come from? They had taken mine when they brought me here. I pulled the device out. Not my phone. The same one I had used to speak with Ross and Charlie. Someone had slipped it into my pocket. When? Why? On the screen was a message from an unknown number, _ the northern wall is straight ahead of you. Walk along it to the left. You'll see the gate. _ I looked around. Someone was watching me? Who had sent the message? Charlie? His people? Or was it Jack's trap? Ahead, the wall really did appear. I walked along it to the left, just as the message instructed. I moved slowly, carefully, constantly looking back. No one. Silence. Only the rustle of leaves and the pounding of my own heart. After about 5 minutes, I saw the gate. Small, inconspicuous, almost hidden behind bushes. I came closer. Locked, of course. But the lock looked simple, old. I examined it. Just an ordinary padlock, nothing special. But without a key, it wouldn't open. And the phone vibrated again. A new message, _key under the stone to the right of the gate. _. I looked down. To the right of the gate, there really was a stone. I bent down, lifted it. Underneath lay a key. Old, rusty, but apparently fitting the lock. Someone had thought everything through. Someone knew I would come here. Someone was helping me. I took the key, put it into the lock. Turned it. The padlock clicked and opened. I pulled the handle of the gate. It opened with a quiet creak. Beyond the gate, darkness. Forest or park, impossible to tell in the night. I took a step forward, stopped. Looked back at Jack's house, the garden, my temporary refuge, my temporary prison. Go or stay? Trust Charlie or Jack? Run or remain and fight? The phone vibrated again. Another message, _faster. You don't have much time. _. I took a deep breath, stepped through the gate, and found myself outside Jack's grounds. Before me stretched a narrow path leading into the forest. I followed it, trying to move quickly but cautiously. Darkness so thick you could cut it. Only the moon lit the way. After about 10 minutes, the trees parted, and I stepped onto a small clearing. A car stood there. A black SUV without markings. Headlights off, engine silent. I stopped at the edge of the clearing, hesitant to approach. Who was in the car? The door opened. A man got out. In the dark, I couldn't see his face, only his silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered. Jody Cooper, he called. His voice was unfamiliar, low, hoarse. Yes, I answered, not moving. Charlie sent me. We need to go. Quickly. I still hesitated. Jody, please. There isn't much time. They could notice you're missing any moment. He was right. If I wanted to leave, it had to be now. I took a step forward, then another. Came up to the car. The man opened the rear door for me, gesturing to get in. I peered inside. No one. Only the driver at the wheel, another stranger. Where are we going? I asked, still reluctant to get in. To a safe place. Charlie will explain everything when you arrive. I nodded, got into the car. The man closed the door behind me, walked around, and sat in the front passenger seat. Drive, he ordered the driver. The car started, rolled slowly down the dirt road through the forest. They didn't turn on the headlights, clearly afraid of being noticed. I stared out the window, trying to figure out where we were going. But in the darkness, all the trees looked the same, every bend in the road alike. Where are we going? I repeated. To the city. There's an apartment where you'll be safe. Charlie will join you in the morning. And you? Who are you? My name is Bruce. I work with your husband. We're on the same team. Team? So Charlie hadn't lied? He really was working for some agency? You're from a government organization too? I asked cautiously. The man in the front seat turned to look at me with surprise. Charlie told you? Didn't expect that. He usually keeps security very tight. Not exactly told me. More like hinted. Said he was working for the government, investigating Jack. The man turned back. Not my business, of course. But really, he shouldn't have said that. Not even to you. And Ruby? She's on your team too? Pause. The man in the front seat turned again, this time with open astonishment. Ruby? Who's Ruby? My heart skipped a beat. If Ruby was part of the team, working with Charlie, then this man would know her. If he didn't, then... Never mind, I said quickly. I must be mistaken. The man nodded, turned back. But something had shifted in the air. Tension, suspicion. I had said the wrong thing. Given myself away. The car left the forest and drove onto a paved road. The driver switched on the headlights, increased speed. Now we drove fast, confidently. Toward the city, judging by the signs flashing by. I looked out the window, trying to figure out where we were. The outskirts of Seattle? Another town? How much longer? I asked. About 40 minutes, the man in the front seat answered. Rest. It's been a hard day. That much was true. A hard day. And the one before. My whole life had been overturned in just 2 days. Everything I had believed turned out to be a lie. Everyone I had trusted turned out not to be who they seemed. Or maybe not. Maybe Charlie was telling the truth? Maybe he really was working for the government, investigating Jack? And everything I'd heard on the recordings was staged for the bugs? But then why didn't this man, Bruce, know Ruby? The car sped along the night road. The headlights caught trees, bushes, scattered houses. We passed through a village, then fields and forests again. I leaned back against the seat, closed my eyes. I didn't mean to sleep, just rest, gather my thoughts. But exhaustion took over. I slipped into a shallow, uneasy sleep filled with fragments of nightmares. I woke when the car stopped. I opened my eyes, looked out the window. We were in a city. Seattle, it seemed. We're here? I asked, straightening in my seat. Yes, Bruce nodded. Out. Quickly. Something in his voice set me on edge. I got out. We stood before an old building in the city center. Dark windows, a quiet street. Late night, almost morning. Bruce led me to the entrance. Opened the door with a key, motioned me inside. We climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. He stopped at one of the doors, pulled out another key, opened it. Go in, he said, switching on the light in the hallway. I stepped into the apartment. Small but cozy. A hallway, a living room, a door leading, probably, to the bedroom. Everything clean, tidy, but impersonal. A rented place, uninhabited. Make yourself comfortable, Bruce said, walking into the living room. Bathroom there, kitchen here. There's food in the fridge. Charlie will come in the morning. Thank you, I nodded, glancing around. You're leaving? Yes. Don't worry, the apartment is safe. No one knows you're here. He headed toward the exit but stopped at the door, turning back to me. And Jody. If I were you, I wouldn't ask unnecessary questions. About Ruby and the rest. In our line of work, curiosity can be dangerous. Even deadly. Remember that. He left. I went into the living room and sat down on the couch. What was happening? Who should I trust? What should I do next? If Charlie was telling the truth, if he really was an undercover agent, then I had made the right choice. I'd escaped from Jack and ended up in a safe place. Soon my husband would arrive, explain everything, show me the evidence. And we would be together again, like before. Or not quite like before, but at least without lies. If Jack was telling the truth, and Charlie was a criminal, then I had made a terrible mistake. I had escaped from the man who wanted to help me and ended up in the hands of a criminal. And what would happen now? What would Charlie do to me when he realized I knew the truth? I went into the bedroom. Sleep came instantly. I fell into darkness, without dreams, without thoughts. I woke to the sound of a door opening. In the doorway stood a man. Tall, dressed in a dark suit. His face hidden, only a silhouette outlined against the light from the corridor. "Charlie?" I called, sitting up in bed. "No, Jody. Not Charlie." The voice was familiar. Very familiar. I switched on the bedside lamp to see better. "Jack?" Yes, it was him. Jack Shepherd in person. Standing in the doorway of the bedroom, looking at me with a faint smile. "What are you doing here? How did you find me?" "Find you?" "Jody, I always knew where you were. From the very beginning. You were watching me? You planted a bug?" "Not exactly. Let's just say, you were always where I wanted you to be. Always." I stared at him, trying to make sense of his words. What did he mean? You planned all of this? The phone in my pocket, the messages, the key under the stone, the car? Of course. I told you, I'd arrange a test for you. I wanted to be sure I could trust you. And you passed. Passed brilliantly. I couldn't believe my ears. I've already explained. I needed to know you were on our side. That you wouldn't betray us, wouldn't run to warn Charlie. And you proved it. You escaped, thinking you were acting against me, but in reality, you did exactly what I wanted. I shook my head. This was surreal. This man was playing with me like a cat with a mouse. And he was enjoying it, judging by his smile. And Bruce? And the driver? They're your people too? Of course. Hugh and Thomas, my employees. Very reliable. But why then did Hugh? Bruce not know about Ruby? When I asked him about her, he was surprised. Jack frowned. That was his mistake. He should have acted better. But in a way, it's even good. It gave you more confirmation that Charlie was lying to you. That Ruby isn't part of any team, isn't working for any government. She's just your husband's mistress, his accomplice in the planned crime. I was silent, trying to process what I had heard. So everything had been staged. My entire escape, my so-called freedom, had been an illusion. I had been under Jack's control the whole time, doing exactly what he wanted. And now? What happens next? Now that I'm certain of your loyalty, we can move forward. You'll return to Chicago, to Charlie. Tell him your business trip was cut short. And you'll be our eyes and ears in his house. You'll gather information about his plans, his accomplices. Especially about the mysterious patron behind him. I sighed. We were back to where we started. Jack was once again asking me to spy on my own husband. And now, after all these games, all these manipulations, I was supposed to agree. And if I refuse? If I say no? Jack shrugged. Then I'll act on my own. And it will end badly for Charlie. Very badly. You said he might avoid prison if I helped. Was that true? Yes. If we get the name of the patron, I can arrange for Charlie to face minimal punishment. Maybe even a suspended sentence. But only if you help. Why should I trust you? After everything you've done, you shouldn't. But you have no choice. Either you work with me, or Charlie goes to prison. And you'll be left alone, with no money, maybe even charged as an accomplice. Not the best future, wouldn't you agree? All right, I said at last. I agree. I'll help you. Jack smiled. Excellent. Then here's the plan. Tonight you rest here. Tomorrow morning we'll take you to the airport, and you'll fly to Chicago. At home, you'll tell Charlie you were recalled early from your trip. And then? Then you'll live as usual. But at the same time, you'll look for information about Charlie's plans. Everything you find, you'll pass to me through Ross. Ross is part of this too? He knows about your tests? Of course. Ross is my most trusted employee. He knows everything. So my brother had betrayed me too. taken part in these games, these manipulations. Known I was in danger and done nothing. And if Charlie suspects something? If he realizes I'm spying on him, he won't. He's too confident, too sure of his power over you. He believes you trust him blindly, that you'll never doubt him. That's his weakness, his vulnerable spot. And we'll use it. And how long will this last? How much time do we have? A week. 10 days at most. And after that? What happens to me then? After that, you'll be free. You'll be able to start a new life. Without Charlie, without his lies, without his betrayal. With a clean conscience, and with my protection. I promise. I looked at him, trying to decide if he was telling the truth. After all these games, these manipulations, I no longer knew if he could be trusted. But I had no choice. All right, I said. I'll do everything you ask. Excellent. Now rest. Tomorrow is an important day. He left the bedroom, closing the door behind him. I was left alone, sitting on the bed, trying to comprehend everything that had happened in these insane days. I lay down on the bed and closed my eyes. I needed rest, I needed strength. Tomorrow a new chapter of my life would begin. A chapter full of danger, intrigue, and lies. But I would manage. I had to manage. For myself. With these thoughts, I finally fell asleep. The sleep was restless, filled with nightmares and strange visions. But when I woke up in the morning, I felt rested, ready for a new day, a new life. There was a knock at the door. I sat up in bed, straightened my wrinkled clothes. Yes? The door opened. Ross walked in. My brother, my former protector, my betrayer? Good morning, he said, smiling. As if nothing had happened. How did you sleep? Fine, I answered curtly. Considering the circumstances. Ross sighed, sat down on the edge of the bed. Jody, I know you're angry. And you have every right to be. But believe me, everything I did for you. For your safety. I tried to protect you. I wanted you to see the truth about Charlie for yourself. So there would be no doubt that I was simply slandering your husband out of jealousy or envy. Perhaps there was a grain of truth in that. All right, what's done is done. What now? Jack said I'll fly to Chicago today? Yes, the ticket's already booked. Flight at 2 o'clock. You have time to freshen up, have breakfast. Then we'll head to the airport. I nodded. The plan was simple. Return to Chicago, to Charlie. Pretend I knew nothing. And at the same time spy on him, gather information for Jack. Simple, but dangerous. All right, I said, getting out of bed. I'll be ready in half an hour. Ross nodded and left the bedroom, leaving me alone. I went to the bathroom and turned on the water. Hot, almost scalding. I wanted to wash away all the madness of the past few days. After the shower, I felt better. Physically, at least. Mentally, it was still hard. But I would cope. I was strong. Stronger than I thought. In the living room, Ross was waiting for me. Sitting on the couch, typing something into his phone. When he saw me, he put it aside and smiled. You look better. Shall we go? Yes. We drove to the airport. On the way, Ross instructed me on what to tell Charlie, how to behave, what to look for. I listened carefully, memorizing. My life depended on it. At the airport, Ross accompanied me to check in, hugged me goodbye. Be careful, he said. And remember, I'm always in touch. Always ready to help. Thank you, I hugged him back. Despite everything, he was still my brother. The only close person I had left. I'll manage. The flight went quickly. I hardly noticed when we landed. Inside, I was ready for Charlie to meet me at the airport. A surprise, flowers, embraces. A husband welcoming his wife back from a business trip. The perfect picture for casual onlookers. But in the arrivals hall, he wasn't there. Neither he nor anyone else who might have been sent to meet me. I was alone. I took a taxi and headed home. On the way, I tried to gather my thoughts, prepare myself for meeting Charlie. What would I say? How would I explain my early return? How would I behave, knowing the truth about him, about his plans, about his betrayal? The taxi stopped at my building. I paid, got out, looked up at the windows of our apartment. The lights were on. That meant Charlie was home, waiting for me. Knew I was coming. Or would it be a surprise for him? I took the elevator to our floor, walked to the door, took out my keys, paused for a second, gathering courage, then opened the door and stepped inside. Charlie, I'm home. Silence. Then footsteps from the living room. And there he was, my husband. The man I had loved for 7 years. The man I thought I knew better than anyone in the world. Jody? His face showed genuine surprise. What are you doing here? Why are you back so early? I smiled, trying to make it look natural. Stepped closer, hugged him, kissed him on the cheek. As usual, as always. As if nothing had happened. The project was shut down. Suddenly, without warning. Some kind of funding issues. They recalled us all. I wanted to surprise you, so I didn't call in advance. Charlie hugged me back, but I felt the tension in his body, in his arms. He hadn't expected me. He wasn't prepared for my return. This disrupted his plans. Well, that's a surprise. I'm so glad you're back. Liar. Now that I knew the truth, I saw the falseness in his smile, in his words, in his embrace. I'm glad too, I said, stepping back. I missed you terribly, missed home. Seattle is beautiful, but home is better. Of course, home is better. Charlie smiled, but his eyes stayed wary. Are you hungry? Do you want something? No, I ate on the plane. But I wouldn't mind some tea. I'm exhausted. The flight, the taxi, all the hassle. Of course, I'll make some. We went into the kitchen. Charlie put the kettle on, took out cups. I sat at the table, watching him. How have you been? Anything new at work? I asked, trying to sound casual. The same as always. Work, home, work. Nothing interesting. Liar. 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 Every word was a lie. Not the same as always, but preparations for a grand theft. And I have so many impressions, I said, smiling. Seattle is so beautiful, especially now, in spring. Though the weather is tricky, of course. Rain one moment, sun the next. I talked about trivial things, the weather, the city, work. Charlie nodded, smiled, asked questions. We drank tea, talked like an ordinary married couple. As if nothing had happened, nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Everything was different. You look tired, he said finally. Maybe you should lie down and rest? I'll unpack your things, make dinner. Yes, good idea. I really am tired. Rest. I'll wake you for dinner. I went into the bedroom, lay down on the bed. Our bed, where we had slept together for 7 years. Where, perhaps, he had made love to Ruby when I wasn't home. Where he had planned betrayal, deceit, escape. Disgusting. But I had to endure it. Had to play the role. The first evening at home passed in a strange, tense atmosphere. We had dinner, talked about trivial things, watched TV. Like an ordinary married couple. As if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Every word, every gesture, every look carried double meaning, hidden subtext. We were playing for each other, pretending, lying. He didn't know I knew the truth. I knew he was lying. And we both smiled, embraced, spoke of love. The night was even worse. He wanted closeness, intimacy. Naturally, after all, I had returned from a business trip, we had missed each other. I couldn't refuse without explanations, without reasons. That would raise suspicion. So I allowed it. Afterwards, he fell asleep, holding me. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. In the morning, when Charlie left for work, I began searching. Carefully, methodically, leaving no traces. I checked his desk, his computer, his phone. Nothing suspicious. Everything clean, neat, without compromising materials. Of course, he wouldn't keep anything important in plain sight. He was clever, cautious. There had to be something hidden, a secret place. A safe? A stash? An external drive hidden somewhere? I kept looking. Day after day, hour after hour while Charlie was at work. I checked all the closets, all the drawers, all the corners. Tapped on walls, floors, listening for hollow spots. Looked into every possible place something important could be hidden. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Every evening Ross called me under the guise of an ordinary conversation between brother and sister. Asked how I was, what was new. I answered with general phrases, nothing specific. We used coded words, phrases that meant, found nothing, still searching, everything is fine. A simple but effective system. Charlie showed no suspicion, no sign that anything was wrong. He was the same as always. Caring, attentive, loving. Lied so skillfully, so naturally, that sometimes I myself began to doubt. Maybe I was wrong? Maybe Jack had tricked me? Maybe Charlie really was working for the government, investigating Jack's activities? But then I remembered the recording. His voice, his words, his plans. Underscore if she's lucky, she'll get off with questioning. If not, maybe even do time as an accomplice. Either way, I don't care. Underscore. No, I wasn't wrong. And Jack hadn't lied to me. At least not about that. The days went by. 5, 6, 7. I kept searching, but with no result. Time was running out. The 14th was approaching. The day Charlie planned to act. The day everything would be decided. And then, on the 8th day, I found it. Completely by accident, not where I was looking. Not in a secret compartment, not in a safe, not on an external drive. In the most obvious, most open place. Where no one would think to look. In a photo album. An ordinary family photo album that stood on the bookshelf in the living room. Among the photos of our wedding, our vacations, our happy moments, between the pages was hidden a small piece of paper. Folded in 4, almost invisible. I unfolded it, read it. And froze in shock. It was a note. Just a few words, handwritten, underscore everything is ready. Waiting for confirmation. SB. Underscore. SB initials. A first and last name. A code. I didn't know. But it was the first lead. The first clue pointing to Charlie's mysterious patron. I photographed the note with my phone, then carefully slipped it back between the pages of the album. Exactly as it had been. No traces, no changes. That evening Ross called. An ordinary conversation, ordinary questions. But this time I answered differently. I used the coded phrase that meant underscore found something. Underscore. Ross came the next day. Just visiting his sister, nothing unusual. Charlie was at work, so we could talk freely. I showed Ross the photo of the note, told him where I had found it. He studied the image intently, nodded thoughtfully. SB, he muttered. Interesting. Jack will be pleased. This is the first concrete lead. Do you know who it might be? Do those initials mean anything to you? Ross shrugged. There are a few theories. But Jack doesn't share details. Not even with me. What now? I asked. What do I do? Keep searching. This is a good lead, but we need more. Concrete proof of Charlie's connection to this SB, documents, recordings, anything. I'm searching. Every day, every minute when Charlie's not home. But I'm finding nothing. He's cautious, he doesn't keep anything compromising here. There must be something. Otherwise, why would this note be in the photo album? Why risk keeping such evidence at home? Ross was right. There had to be something else. Something I had missed, overlooked. I needed to keep searching, more thoroughly, more carefully. And faster. There was less and less time left. I'll keep searching, I promised. But there's little time. The 14th is the day after tomorrow. I know. That's why we're stepping up surveillance. Installing more cameras, more bugs. We'll watch Charlie's every move. He might notice. He's careful, observant. He won't. We're professionals. What about the photo album? I asked. Should we take it? Study it more thoroughly? There could be more clues hidden inside. Ross shook his head. No, leave everything as it is. If Charlie notices the album missing, he'll suspect something. We can't take that risk. I agreed. Ross was right. No risks, no suspicion. Ross left, promising to pass the information to Jack. I stayed behind, continuing my search. I looked everywhere something hidden, secret could be. But I found nothing. Charlie came home from work as usual. Asked how my day was, what was new. I told him about Ross's visit, about our conversation. Nothing unusual, just ordinary family matters. That evening, when Charlie was asleep, I pulled out the photo album again. Carefully, quietly, I took it from the shelf and brought it into the bathroom. Locked the door, turned on the light. I began flipping page by page, photo by photo. Looking for something that could be a hint, a clue, evidence. And I found it. Not a note, something more interesting, more significant. On one of the photos taken at a Shepherd Capital corporate event about a year ago. A group picture, many people. Charlie among them, smiling, content. And next to him a man I didn't recognize at first, tall, imposing, in an expensive suit. I studied his face. And suddenly realized why it seemed familiar. I had seen him on television. Many times. He was a well-known politician, holding a high position in the government. A man spoken of as a possible presidential candidate in the next election. Senator Sylvester Baker. SB coincidence? Or was he the mysterious patron behind Charlie? The man behind the planned crime? I photographed the picture with my phone, carefully put the album back on the shelf. Exactly as it had been. My heart was pounding like crazy. I had just uncovered a possible link between Charlie and a very powerful, very dangerous man. A link that could explain a lot. And one that might be exactly what Jack had been searching for. But what to do with this information? Call Ross in the middle of the night? Too risky. Charlie might wake up, overhear the conversation. Wait until morning? Risky too. Every hour mattered, time was running out. I decided to send the photo in a messenger. A short message, only the picture, no explanation. Ross was smart, he would understand. And he would pass the information to Jack. I sent it, then deleted the message from my phone. No traces. Then I returned to the bedroom, lay down next to Charlie. He was asleep, unaware that his secret had been exposed. That his connection to SB to Senator Sylvester Baker was no longer a secret. In the morning Charlie left for work as usual. Kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me, said he would be home in the evening. As soon as the door closed behind him, I called Ross. He picked up after the first ring, as if he had been waiting for my call. Did you see the photo? I asked without preamble. Yes. Jack saw it too. He wants to talk to you. In person. Today. Today? But how? I can't just leave, disappear. Charlie will suspect something. Tell him you're going to a friend. Or to me. Make something up. This is important, Jody. Very important. Fine. Where and when? 3 o'clock. At the Starbucks on Michigan Avenue. Do you know it? Yes, I know it. Perfect. Jack will be waiting for you there. Alone. No guards, no entourage. Just a conversation. All right. I'll be there. At 2:30 I left the house, headed to Michigan Avenue. The Starbucks was a small, cozy place in a modern style. Marble tabletops, comfortable couches, soft music. Jack was already waiting. Sitting at a corner table, drinking coffee, scrolling through something on his phone. When he saw me, he put the phone aside, stood up, smiled. Jody, good to see you. Please, have a seat. I sat down across from him, tense, wary. Whatever Ross had said, I couldn't fully trust this man. You wanted to see me, I said, wasting no time on pleasantries. Yes. I wanted to thank you in person. You did an excellent job. The photo you sent, that's exactly what we were looking for. Proof of Charlie's connection to Senator Baker. So I was right? SB is Senator Sylvester Baker? Yes. We suspected for a long time, but had no proof. Now, thanks to you, we do. And what now? What happens next? Now we act. We arrest Charlie, confront him with evidence of his connection to Shepard. Force him to cooperate, to testify against his patron. And then the real game begins. The big game. With very high stakes. And what about me? You'll be fine. You've done your part, now it's my turn. You'll be under my protection. A new identity, a new life, a fresh start. If you want it, of course. If not, you can just go back to your normal life. Without Charlie, without his lies, without his betrayal. And Charlie? What will happen to him? That depends on him. If he cooperates, testifies against Shepard, he could get off with a light sentence. Maybe even probation. If not, he'll go to prison. For a long time. When are you planning to arrest him? Tonight. When he comes back from work. In your apartment. I flinched. In our apartment? But. Don't worry, you won't be there. You'll stay here, with my people. They'll take care of your safety. And when it's over, I'll personally tell you the outcome. I didn't know what to say. Everything was happening so fast, so unexpectedly. Just yesterday I was a spy, a double agent in my own husband's home. And today it was ending. Charlie would be arrested, I would be protected, and a new life would begin. Do you have questions? Jack asked, noticing my confusion. Yes, many. But the main one, why are you so sure Charlie will cooperate? That he'll testify against Shepard? He could refuse, he could deny everything. Jack smiled. We have ways of persuasion. Very effective ways. I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't want to know. Some things were better left unknown. And one more question. Why Shepard? Why all this? He's a successful politician, a possible presidential candidate. Why risk his career, his reputation for some money? It's not about money, Jody. Or not only about money. It's about power. Influence. Control. Shepard wants to be president. And for that, he needs resources. Massive resources. And he gets them by any means necessary. Legal or otherwise. I nodded. I was beginning to grasp the scale of it. This wasn't just corporate fraud, not just theft. This was big politics, big ambitions, big plans. What should I do now? I asked, trying to gather my thoughts. Nothing. Just wait here. My people will take care of you. When it's over, I'll contact you. I nodded. I had no choice. Jack stood, placed money for the coffee on the table. I must go. Time to prepare for the operation. Don't worry, Jody. Everything will be fine. You made the right choice by trusting me, and I won't let you down." He left, leaving me alone at the table. I watched him go, thinking about what would happen that evening. A young man approached the table. Tall, athletic build, dressed in a dark suit. "Jody? My name is Thomas. I'm with Mr. Shepard. He asked me to look after you." I nodded. "Another one of Jack's men. Another guard, bodyguard, overseer. Call it what you will. What do I have to do?" "Nothing special. Just wait. We'll take you to a safe place where you can rest until it's all over." I nodded again. Stood up, picked up my bag, followed Thomas to the exit. Outside, a car was waiting for us. A black SUV, just like the one that had driven me around in Seattle. I got into the back seat. Thomas sat beside me. At the wheel was another man I hadn't seen before. The car started moving, merging into the flow of Chicago traffic. "Where are we going?" I asked, looking out the window. "To a safe place," Thomas repeated. "Don't worry, Jody. Everything is under control." The car wound through the city, blending into traffic. I stared out the window without really paying attention to the route. Wherever we were going, it was that safe place Thomas had mentioned. The place where I would wait until it was all over. After a while, I noticed we were leaving the city. Suburbs, Forest. "Is it far?" I asked, beginning to worry. "No, we'll be there soon," Thomas replied. "Don't worry, Jody." I nodded, trying to calm myself. Jack had promised to protect me. Ross trusted him. So I had to trust him too. The car turned off the main road onto a dirt path leading into the forest. It drove several more kilometers, then stopped at the gates of some kind of compound. A tall fence, guards, security cameras. A serious place. The guard at the entrance checked a list, nodded, let us through. The car slowly drove onto the grounds and stopped in front of a 3-story building that looked like a hotel. "We're here," Thomas said. "Out you go, Jody." I stepped out of the car and looked around. Forest, silence, fresh air. The place really did look safe, isolated from the outside world. But it also felt a bit like a prison. Thomas led me inside the building. A spacious lobby, reception desk. Behind it sat a young woman typing something on a computer. When she saw us, she smiled warmly. "Good afternoon. How can I help you?" "Jody Cooper," Thomas introduced me. "A special guest of Mr. Shepard." The woman nodded, checked something on her computer. "Yes, of course. Room 307, 3rd floor. Everything is ready, as Mr. Shepard requested." She handed me an electronic key card. "Enjoy your stay, Jody Cooper. If you need anything, just ask." I took the key, nodded in thanks. Thomas led me to the elevator. We went up to the 3rd floor, walked down the hallway to room 307. I opened the door with the card and went in. The room was spacious, bright, well-furnished. Everything clean, neat, modern. "Make yourself comfortable," Thomas said, standing in the doorway. "There are clothes in the wardrobe, toiletries in the bathroom. Dinner will be brought at 7. "Thank you," I nodded, looking around. "How long will I be here?" "That depends on circumstances. Mr. Shepard will contact you when it's over." I nodded again. I had no choice. All I could do was wait and hope everything would end well. Thomas left, closing the door behind him. I sat on the bed, pulled out my phone. I wanted to call Ross, find out what was happening. But the phone didn't work. No signal flashed on the screen. Strange. Or not strange. Maybe there was no reception here in the woods. Or more likely, a signal jammer was in place. Just like in Jack's house in Seattle. I lay down on the bed, closed my eyes. Woke up to a knock at the door. "Yes?" I called, sitting up on the bed. The door opened. A young woman entered, carrying a tray. "Your dinner, Jody," she said, setting the tray on the table. "Enjoy your meal." I glanced at the clock. 7 p.m. I'd slept for several hours, but I felt rested, more energized. "Thank you," I nodded. "Do you know if there's any news from Mr. Shepard?" "No, nothing was given to me. But if there are updates, you'll be informed immediately." She left, leaving me alone with the tray of food. After dinner, I took a shower, changed into the clothes I found in the wardrobe. Everything fit perfectly, as if it had been chosen just for me. I sat in a chair by the window, looking out at the darkening forest. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Beautiful, calm, peaceful. If not for the circumstances, I could have enjoyed the view, the moment. Time crawled. 8, 9, 10 p.m. No news, no messages from Jack. I was starting to get nervous. What was happening? Why was it taking so long? What had happened to Charlie? At 11, I decided to go to bed. No point sitting up, waiting for news that might come tomorrow, the day after, or never. I lay down, turned off the light. The room sank into darkness, only moonlight slipping in through the window, casting strange shadows on the walls. And then I heard it. The sound of a door opening. Quiet, careful, almost imperceptible. But I heard it and froze, pretending to sleep. Who was it? Jack with news? Thomas checking on me? Or someone else? Someone dangerous? Footsteps. Soft, cautious. Approaching the bed. I lay still, trying to breathe evenly, like in sleep. My hand under the pillow felt the fruit knife I had hidden after dinner. Small, but sharp. Better than nothing. The footsteps stopped by the bed. I felt someone's presence, someone's breath close, very close. "Jody," whispered a voice. A familiar voice. A very familiar voice. "Jody, wake up." "It's me." I opened my eyes. In the moonlight spilling through the window, I saw a familiar silhouette. Tall, lean, with a distinct posture. "Charlie?" I whispered, not believing my eyes. "How did you get here?" "They were supposed to arrest you." Quiet, he pressed a finger to his lips. "No time to explain. We have to go. Quickly. Before they find us." I sat up on the bed, trying to process what was happening. Charlie was here. Not arrested, not in Jack's hands. Somehow he had found me, come for me. "What's going on, Charlie? How did you know where I was? What happened to Jack's operation?" "Later, Jody. I'll explain everything later. Right now we have to leave. This is life or death. Your life or death." There was such urgency, such fear in his voice that I couldn't help but believe him. Something had happened. Something serious. And he had come to warn me, to save me. Despite everything. Despite my betrayal, my deception, my game. "All right," I said, getting out of bed. "I'm with you." I dressed quickly, gathered my few belongings. Charlie waited by the door, tense, alert, ready to act. "Ready?" he whispered. "Yes," I nodded. "Where are we going?" "To the exit." "There's a car. But we have to be very careful. There are guards, cameras, alarms." "How did you get past all that?" "There are ways," he said with a mysterious smile. "Come on. And stay close to me." We stepped into the corridor. Empty, quiet, only the soft glow of night lights. Charlie led me not toward the elevator but to the stairs. We descended to the first floor, carefully opened the door. The lobby, the reception desk. No one behind it, only a computer with its screen still on. "This way," Charlie whispered, pointing to a side door. Not the main entrance, but some kind of service exit. We went through it and found ourselves outside. The night air was cool, fresh, filled with the scent of the forest. The car's over there, Charlie said, pointing toward the trees. 200 meters. We need to be very quiet, very fast. We moved through the forest, trying not to make noise, not to draw attention. I stumbled over roots, caught on branches, but Charlie steadied me, helped, guided. After a few minutes, we reached a small clearing. A car stood there. Not a black SUV like Jack's men used, but an ordinary sedan, plain, gray. Charlie opened the door, gestured for me to get in. Quick, he urged. They could notice you're gone any minute. I slid into the car. Charlie got behind the wheel. He started the engine, pulled onto the dirt road slowly, without headlights. Only when we had put a good distance between ourselves and the compound did he turn them on and pick up speed. Now we can talk, he said, eyes on the road. You're safe. At least for now. What's going on, Charlie? How did you find me? What happened to Jack's operation? He exhaled, glanced at me briefly before looking back at the road. There was no operation, Jody. Jack never planned to arrest me. It was a trap. For you. For me? But why? Because you know too much. You've seen too much. And now you're a threat. To Jack. To Senator Baker. To all of them. Explain. I don't understand. Charlie sighed again. It's complicated, Jody. And dangerous. But you deserve to know the truth. The whole truth. After everything you've been through. He fell silent for a moment, collecting his thoughts. I'm not who I pretend to be. And I'm not who Jack thinks I am either. I work for the government, Jody. For a special service. We've been investigating Jack, Senator Baker, and their associates for years. I flinched. It was exactly what Charlie had told me over the phone when I was in Jack's house. The very thing I hadn't believed. The thing I had dismissed as another lie, another manipulation. Prove it, I said. Prove you're telling the truth. Fair. There's a folder in the glove compartment. Take it out. I opened the glove compartment and pulled out a folder. Thin, marked top secret on the cover. I opened it, flipping through the documents inside. An ID card in Charlie Bentle's name. But not as a financial analyst and FBI agent. Photographs of Jack, Senator Baker, other men I didn't know. Transcripts of conversations, meeting protocols, surveillance reports. Everything looked official, serious, real. This is real? I asked, unable to believe my eyes. You're actually an FBI agent? Yes, Charlie nodded. Undercover for 5 years. Investigating Jack, Senator Baker, and their organization. They launder money, fund illegal operations, bribe officials. A large, well-organized criminal network with political ties. I kept flipping through the documents, unable to process it. All these years, all this time. My husband wasn't who I thought he was. Not a financial analyst, but an undercover FBI agent. Not a traitor, but a man of the law, fighting crime. And Ruby? She's an agent too? Charlie hesitated, as if deciding how much to reveal. Yes. Ruby is my handler. We've worked together for 3 years. What you heard on the recording was staged. We knew Jack might be listening, so we played our roles. Said exactly what he wanted to hear. But you were together. In our bed. I heard it. No, Jody. That too was part of the act. For the record. We never slept together. Not once. I didn't know whether to believe him. It sounded too good, too convenient, too perfect. But the documents in the folder looked authentic. And Charlie's eyes held such sincerity, such pain, it was hard not to believe. And Ross? He's... What? An agent too? Charlie shook his head. No. Ross really works for Jack. Has for 3 years. He's his trusted aide, his right hand. And yes, he really betrayed you, Jody. Used you, manipulated you, set you up. On Jack's orders. I shuddered. That hurt most of all. My brother, my protector, my closest person. The traitor wasn't Charlie, it was Ross. Not my husband, but my brother. But why? Why would Ross betray me? Why work for Jack? Money, power, influence. The usual motives. Jack pays well, takes care of his people. And Ross. He was always ambitious. Always wanted more than he had. Jack gave him that. Or promised to. And the wiretap? Who installed it? Ross. On Jack's orders. They wanted to test me, make sure I was really on their side. That I really planned to steal the money, flee the country. That I wasn't an undercover agent. And they heard exactly what they wanted? Yes. Ruby and I gave them exactly that. Talks of theft, of escape, of new identities. All of it part of our cover, our legend. We knew they were listening, and we played our roles. And now? What happens next? Now we leave. Far away. Somewhere Jack and his men can't find us. Somewhere safe. At least for a while. And the operation? Your investigation? Arresting Jack? Senator Baker? Charlie sighed. The operation collapsed. Jack somehow found out about us, about our plans. Maybe he has sources inside the FBI. Maybe we made a mistake. Either way, right now the mission doesn't matter. What matters is your safety. Our safety. We have to disappear, lie low, wait until things calm down. I nodded. It made sense. This was not the time for heroics, not the time to finish the operation. This was the time to survive. Where are we going? For now, to a safe place. A friend's cabin in Vermont. We'll stay there for a few days, then decide what to do next. And Jack? And Ross? They'll come looking for us. Yes. They can't let us slip away. Especially you. You know too much, you've seen too much. To them, you're a threat that has to be eliminated. I shivered. But we'll be careful, Charlie went on. No phones, no contact, no credit cards. Only cash, only direct contact with trusted people. We'll make it, Jody. Together. I looked at him. At my husband, the man I had thought was a traitor, a liar, a criminal. And he turned out to be a hero, a protector, a man risking his life for truth, justice, and safety. We drove through the night. Charlie at the wheel, me beside him in the passenger seat. We were silent most of the time, each lost in our own thoughts. Occasionally he asked if I was tired, if I wanted to stop, rest. I said I was fine, that we had to keep going. The farther from Chicago, from Jack, from danger, the better. At dawn we turned off the main road onto a dirt path leading through the forest. After a few more kilometers, we stopped at a small wooden house on the edge of a lake. A typical country cabin, nothing special, nothing remarkable. The perfect place to hide, to lie low, to wait. We're here, Charlie said, shutting off the engine. This belongs to a friend of mine. He hasn't used it in years, but he keeps it in order. Everything we need is here. Electricity, water, supplies. We can stay as long as we need. I nodded, stepped out of the car. Stretched, easing my cramped muscles after the long drive. The morning air was fresh, cool, filled with the sense of forest, lake, and earth. Quiet, calm, peaceful. If not for the circumstances, I could have enjoyed this place, this moment. Charlie unlocked the cabin door with a key he retrieved from under a stone on the porch. We stepped inside. Simple, but cozy. A living room with a fireplace, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom. Clean, orderly, ready to use. Make yourself at home, Charlie said, dropping our bags on the floor. I'll check the perimeter, make sure everything's safe. He went out, leaving me alone in the unfamiliar house. I walked through the rooms, looking around, adjusting to the new space. Then I found the kitchen, put the kettle on. I needed tea hot, strong. And time to think, to process everything that had happened over these insane days. Charlie, an undercover FBI agent, investigating Jack, Senator Baker, and their network. Ruby, his handler, a colleague, not his lover. Everything I had heard on the recording had been staged for the bugs. They knew they were being listened to, and they played their roles. Said exactly what Jack wanted to hear, and Ross worked for Jack. Betrayed me, used me, manipulated me. On Jack's orders. To test Charlie, to confirm his legend, his cover. The kettle whistled. I brewed the tea, sat down at the table, gazing out the window at the lake, the forest, the morning sky. Beautiful, calm, soothing. If not for the circumstances, I could have enjoyed the view, the moment. Charlie returned half an hour later. Sat across from me at the table, poured himself some tea. All clear, he said. No signs of surveillance, no signs of watchers. But we'll stay cautious. No phones, no communication, no trips into town unless absolutely necessary. How long will we stay here? I asked, sipping my tea. A few days. Maybe a week. Then we'll decide what to do next. We may have to leave the country. At least for a while. And your investigation? Your operation? You're just going to abandon it. Charlie sighed. I don't want to, but I may have to. At least for now. Your safety matters more than anything, Jody. The operation can be restarted later, with other agents, another approach. But your life? There's only one. And I can't risk it. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I asked. Why didn't you trust me? We've been married 7 years, Charlie. 7 years of lies, secrets, pretending. He lowered his eyes, as if he couldn't meet mine. I couldn't. It was strict secrecy. No one was supposed to know. Not even you. Especially not you. For your own safety. The less you knew, the lower the risk you'd slip, expose me, the operation, who I really was. And now? Why tell me now? Because there was no choice. Jack suspects you, sees you as a threat. I had to get you out, protect you. And for that, you had to know the truth. The whole truth. And now? What happens to us? Charlie raised his eyes to mine. I don't know, Jody. It depends on you. On whether you can forgive me. For the lies, the secrets, for all those years of pretending. For putting you in danger, dragging you into this game, this nightmare. I stayed silent, not knowing what to answer. Could I forgive him? Forget everything that had happened, everything I had gone through, everything I had believed and stopped believing during these insane days? Give me time, I said finally. Too much has happened. I need to think, to process, to accept. Charlie nodded, understanding. Of course. You have all the time in the world. For now, let's just survive. We spent 3 days in the cabin. Quiet, calm days, filled with simple routines. Cooking meals, lighting the fireplace, walking around the lake. We spoke little, mostly kept silent. Each of us thinking, processing, deciding what to do next. On the 4th day, everything changed. We were sitting on the porch, drinking tea, watching the lake. A quiet, peaceful evening. And suddenly the sound of an approaching car. Charlie tensed, stood, moved to the edge of the porch, peering toward the forest road. Someone's coming, he said, and there was alarm in his voice. Quick, into the house. And don't come out, no matter what happens. I ran inside, and he followed me. He pulled a gun out of his bag, a real gun. Checked the magazine, took off the safety. Is it Jack? I asked, feeling my heart pounding in my chest. Maybe. Or his men. I don't know how they found us. I was sure we left no trail. The sound of the car grew louder. They were getting closer. Charlie moved to the window, carefully peered out. "A black SUV," he said. "Like Jack's. 3 men. Armed. What do we do?" I asked, barely finding the strength to speak. "I have a plan." Charlie turned to me, his eyes resolute, firm. "But you have to follow my instructions exactly. No questions, no hesitation. Can you do that?" I nodded. There was no choice. Only to trust him. Completely, unconditionally. "There's a hatch in the bedroom leading to the basement. Hide there. Whatever happens, don't come out until I come for you. Or until a full day has passed. If I don't return in 24 hours, there's an emergency exit in the basement. It leads into the forest. Head east. After 5 kilometers you'll find a village. There you'll get help. And you? What will you do?" "I'll hold them off. Distract them. Buy you time to get away. No. I won't leave you." Jody, he took me by the shoulders, looked straight into my eyes. "I'm trained for this. I have a chance. But if you stay, neither of us will have one. Please. Do as I ask." "All right," I said, holding back tears. "But promise me you'll be careful. Promise you'll come back for me." "I promise," he smiled, and for a moment I saw the old Charlie. My Charlie. The man I had loved for 7 years. The man I had married. The man I had dreamed of spending my whole life with. The car stopped by the house. Voices, footsteps. "Go," Charlie pushed me toward the bedroom. Quickly. I nodded, kissed him on the cheek, and ran to the bedroom. Found the hatch under the rug, opened it, climbed down into the dark, damp basement. Closed the hatch over my head, left in complete darkness. My heart was beating so loudly it felt like they could hear it upstairs. I sat in the dark, listening to the sounds from above. Voices, footsteps, something else. Muffled, indistinct. And then shots. 1, 2, 3. Shouts, something shattered, something fell. And silence. Terrible, crushing silence. I sat still, barely breathing. What was happening up there? Who had won? Who had lost? Was Charlie alive? Were they searching for me? Time passed. Minutes, hours. In the dark, with no clock, no light, I lost track of time. Maybe 2 hours. Maybe 5. Maybe more. And suddenly the sound of the hatch opening. Light streaming from above. A silhouette against it. "Jody?" Charlie's voice. Alive, unharmed. "Are you here?" "It's all right." I rushed to him, hugged him, pressed against him, breathing in his scent, feeling his warmth, his strength, his life. "What happened? Who were they? Are you hurt?" "It's all right." He hugged me back. It was a special unit. My special unit. Not Jack's men. I pulled away, not understanding. "Your special unit?" "But you said." "Armed men. A black SUV." "Sorry," he looked guilty. "I wasn't sure they were mine. I couldn't take the risk. And when I saw who they were, I decided to run a little test." "A test?" I still didn't understand. "What kind of test?" "Of your loyalty. Of your trust. I staged the firefight to see if you would follow my instructions. If you'd stay in the basement, like I asked." I stepped back, stunned. "You tested me? Put on a whole show, made me scared, worried, thinking you might be dead? Just to test my loyalty?" He lowered his eyes, ashamed, guilty. "It was necessary, Jody. I had to be sure before taking you with me, before trusting you further." "Taking me with you?" "Where?" "To Chicago. The operation is back on. We're taking down Jack, Senator Baker, the whole network. Today. Now." I stared at him, not believing my ears. But how? You said the operation had failed. That Jack had found out about you, about your plans. That was a lie. Charlie looked me straight in the eye. Another test. I had to be sure you were really on my side. That you weren't working for Jack. That you weren't trying to trick me, set me up, betray me. And now? I asked at last. What do you need from me? Nothing special. Just be there. Be a witness. When it's over, you'll testify against Jack Shepard. Tell them what you saw, what you heard, what you know. And Ross? What about him? Ross is complicated. He really does work for Jack. But he also works for us. What? I couldn't believe my ears. Ross is a double agent? Yes. He infiltrated Jack's organization 3 years ago. On our orders. To gather information, to prepare for the operation. But everything he did, the wiretaps, the manipulation, the traps, all of it was part of the plan. Our plan. We couldn't tell you, Jody. So Ross didn't betray me? He was always on your side? On the side of law, of truth, of justice? Yes. He risked his life, his reputation, everything. For duty, for service, for the country. Just like I did. I sank onto the steps leading up from the basement, trying to process what I'd heard. I don't know what to think, I admitted. I don't know what to feel. I don't know who to believe. Charlie sat down beside me, took my hand in his. Believe the facts, Jody. Believe the evidence. Believe your heart. It always knew the truth. It always felt it, even when your mind doubted. All right, I said, rising to my feet. I'm with you. Until the end. Charlie smiled, stood up beside me. Then let's go. They're waiting for us in Chicago. We stepped out of the house. A black SUV stood by the porch. 3 men were next to it. Serious, fit, dressed in FBI tactical gear. Real special forces, not imposters. All set, Agent Bentel, one of them saluted. The strike team is in position. Just waiting for your signal. Excellent, Charlie nodded. We move. Operation _clean hands _ had begun. We got into the car. Drove to Chicago. On the way, Charlie told me the details of the operation, the plans, the strategy. I listened, nodded, memorized. Like a diligent student, a loyal aide, a reliable partner, and I felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride in my husband and my brother, for their service, their duty, their honor. Relief that it would all soon be over, that truth would prevail, that justice would be restored. And fear. Fear for them, for myself, for our future. Because the operation was only just beginning. And no one could guarantee it would succeed. Chicago greeted us with rain. Gray, cold, damp. As if nature itself anticipated the drama that was about to unfold. On this day. At this hour. In this very moment. We stopped at an unremarkable building on the outskirts of the city. An FBI base, as Charlie explained. A place where the operation had been prepared, where evidence was gathered, where the raid was coordinated. Inside, Ross was waiting. He hugged me tightly, desperately, as if afraid I would push him away, reject him, refuse to forgive him. Forgive me, Jody, he whispered in my ear. For everything. For the lies, the manipulation, the pain I caused. I didn't want to. But I couldn't do otherwise. I had no choice. I know, I answered, hugging him back. Now I know. And I forgive you. And I'm proud of you. Of both of you. We pulled away from each other, smiling through tears. Brother and sister. Together again. On the same side again. After all the trials, all the tests, all the lies and truths. Well, are we ready? Charlie asked, looking at us both. The hardest part starts now. Ready, we nodded in unison. The operation began at noon. Simultaneous raids across multiple locations in Chicago. Jack's office. Baker's home. Other sites tied to their activities, their people, their businesses. I was in the command center, watching the operation unfold on monitors, listening to communications through a headset. Charlie and Ross were out there, on the front line. Leading the strike teams, coordinating actions, ensuring efficiency and safety. Everything went surprisingly smoothly. No resistance, no gunfire, no casualties. Jack surrendered the moment he saw the FBI in his office. Baker tried to destroy some documents but didn't make it in time. Others were arrested at their homes, in their offices, in restaurants. Wherever they happened to be at the moment. By evening, it was all over. All suspects detained, all evidence collected, all testimonies recorded. Including mine. I told everything I had seen, heard, known. About Jack, about Baker, about their plans, their actions, their crimes. And then came silence. Strange, unfamiliar silence after days of tension, fear, uncertainty. Charlie and I sat in his office at the FBI building, drinking tea, saying nothing. Both exhausted, drained, but also satisfied. The mission completed. The operation finished. What happens next? I asked, looking at my husband over the rim of my cup. To us? Charlie was silent for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. That depends on you, Jody. On whether you can forgive me. I don't know, I admitted honestly. I don't know if I can forget everything that happened. All the pain, all the fear, all the doubts. But I want to try. For us. For what we had. For what we might still have. That's all I can ask for. A chance. The opportunity to set things right, to start fresh. No lies, no secrets, no pretenses. A real marriage. A real love. A real life. I nodded, feeling something warm spread through my chest. Something like hope, like trust, like love. Not the old kind, blind, naive. A new kind. Clear-eyed, conscious, tested by fire and made stronger. I want that, I said. I want to try. I want to believe we can do it. That not everything is lost. That the best is still ahead. Charlie rose, came to me, embraced me. Firmly, gently, desperately. Like a man who had almost lost the most precious thing he had, and suddenly, miraculously, was given a second chance. Thank you, he whispered in my ear. For your faith. For your hope. For your love. I won't fail you. Never again. I hugged him back, closed my eyes, breathed in his scent, felt his warmth, his strength, his love. And I thought of the future. Of our future. Not simple, not perfect, but real. Without lies, without secrets, without pretenses. A future we would build together. Day by day, step by step, brick by brick. On the foundation of truth, trust, respect. And love, of course. Love that had endured, survived, persisted. Against all odds. A year has passed since my life was turned upside down. A year since I learned the truth about my husband, my brother, about myself. A year filled with rebuilding, with healing, with new beginnings. The trial of Jack, Baker, and their accomplices was loud, sensational, historic. They were found guilty on all counts: fraud, money laundering, bribery of officials, abuse of power. They were sentenced to long prison terms. 20 years for Jack, 15 for Baker, less for the others depending on their roles and their guilt. Charlie and Ross were honored. Medals, promotions, recognition from colleagues, superiors, the country. Heroes. Men who exposed one of the largest corruption schemes in the nation's history. Men who risked their lives, their reputations, everything for truth, for justice, for the law. And me? I was simply trying to keep living. I returned to teaching at the language school. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with during the years of my marriage. I focused on self-development, on sports, on hobbies I had abandoned, on passions I had set aside. And I worked on our marriage. Together with Charlie. Day by day, conversation by conversation, compromise by compromise. I rebuilt what had been destroyed by lies, by secrets, by mistrust. I learned to believe again, to trust again, to love again. Not blindly, not naively, but consciously, with eyes open, fully aware. It wasn't easy. Too much had been lost, too much broken. But we didn't give up, didn't back away, didn't abandon each other in hard moments. And little by little, step by step, we came back to one another. We found common ground, common interests, a common future. We remembered why we fell in love 7 years ago. And we discovered new reasons to love each other now. Deeper, stronger, more aware. Ross was there too. My brother, my protector, my hero. He supported me, helped me, inspired me. He filled the gaps that had formed over the years of his betrayal, his absence, his secret service. We became closer than ever. A real family. Imperfect, with its own problems, its own hardships, its own challenges. But real. And today, exactly a year after those insane days, I am sitting on the porch of our new home. The home Charlie and I bought together. A true home, built on honesty, openness, trust. I look at the garden, at the sunset, at the life we created. And I think about the future. About the child I am expecting. About the family I am building. About the life I chose. Imperfect, not ideal, but real. Mine. And I realize that I am happy. Not with that naive, carefree happiness I once knew, but with a deep, mature, conscious happiness of someone who has gone through trials, through pain, through loss. And come out stronger, wiser, whole. Charlie steps out onto the porch, sits beside me, wraps his arm around my shoulders. We watch the sunset together, silently, without needing words. Understanding each other without them. Like people who have walked through fire and water side by side. Like people who have seen each other at their best and their worst. Like people who have chosen each other not once, not twice, but countless times. Every day. Every hour. Every moment. Do you regret it? He asks quietly, looking at my rounded belly. Regret what? Staying. Giving us a second chance. Choosing to try again. I smile, place my hand on his. Not for a second. It was the right choice. The best choice of my life. He smiles back, kisses my temple. And we keep watching the sunset. The sky shimmering with every shade of red, orange, and gold. The sun sinking behind the horizon, promising to return tomorrow. A new day. A new chance. A new beginning. Like our love. Like our life. Like our story. A story that does not end. A story that is only beginning. Every day. Every hour. Every moment.